to give you and your loved ones the cozy feeling of being at home.
Impressive.
Baby, let me tell you.
The treat is on us.
Are you serious?
Just give us a chance. Make a date with KBC Channel 1 in the month of love for a heartwarming experience.
You will love it.
Oya. Auntie akona ka forehead. Akona the mark of quality.
Nataka kumaliza mambo hiyo wedding.
Kwanza kiongea kitu kia Patrick sana. Rosifol.
Umenimaliza kama chai kwa kikombe.
Zote zimebaki December, September, October.
Wanaona, I know my ritual.
Ni kama tu nikuje nikwambie uko na kichwa kubwa. Sasa makosa si
au sio? Ndio manake. Okay.
Every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Good morning. Welcome to the program, 19th day of February 2024. This is Good Morning Kenya. Welcome to the program. It's a beautiful Monday. How was your weekend? What were you up to? I hope whatever you did made some change in your life and it was beneficial to you and the people around you. This is Good Morning Kenya. We are up and early. A lot is lined up for you in this particular program. Later on, I'll be taking a look at what's happening in the world of politics. Raila to the AU, right? The cabinet is meeting in Naivasha. The president is also going to have that PG, the parliamentary group, meeting in Naivasha to deliberate on what are some of the gains and misses in the Kenya Kwanza administration. I'll be having that discussion with Peter Orero, Member of Parliament, Kibera constituency. I have got Arnold Maliba, who is Strategic Communications Director at the UDA party, as well as Biko Ashoya, who's an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. You don't want to miss that discussion and so much more. All right? Here we are. So, Marie, habari ya asubuhi.
Sana,
Karibu sana kwenye kipindi.
Asante sana, nimeshukuru.
Let's switch to what you know.
Both of them, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, you're just in time for the Good Morning Kenya show, definitely. My name is Marie Yambo, and I'll be bringing you the news, including what Victor has already alluded to, and that is the cabinet members are actually in Naivasha. They already arrived yesterday, and they're there to take, stock of the Kenya Kwanza administration, in terms of progress and all that. I'll be bringing you up to speed with that in the news this morning, including the AU Commission chairmanship that Raila Odinga is actually bidding for, and I'll be letting you know what the government is saying all about that. So stay tuned for the news. But before that, Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Marie. How are you?
Fine.
Welcome to the program. My name is Mike Migwi, and later on in the program we'll be having a conversation that will center on digital currency risks and regulations in Kenya. Adedeji Owonibi, who is a blockchain forensic investigator and senior partner at A&D Forensics, will be joining me in studio for that conversation, together with who is also a cryptocurrency investigator and compliance specialist at A&D Forensics. You want to tune in to that conversation. Also, I'll be talking to one Dr. Ivan Yendo Ilunga, who is an assistant professor of political science at international relations at Salve Regina University in the United States. And the topic will be peace and conflict resolution. We'll be looking into that later on in the program. In the meantime, Marie, take it away with the news.
Indeed. It's time for the news, where cabinet members and senior government officials have arrived in Naivasha ahead of the start of a 4-day retreat by the executive. This is the second retreat since the Kenya Kwanza government assumed office. The meeting is aimed at taking stock of progress made in implementing government policies. Joseph Wakungo with the details of the meeting agenda that also will be attended by Kenya Kwanza allied legislators.
For the next 4 days, the executive arm of government top bosses will be in Naivasha to sieve through activities by respective ministries and assess the implementation of projects 17 months after taking oath of office. Members of the executive arm of the government have already begun to arrive in Naivasha ahead of the start of the meeting on Monday. According to government spokesperson Isaac Mwaura, in addition to reviewing activities of 2023 and lesson learned, the meeting will prioritize projects for implementation in the year 2024.
In particular, the government shall be reviewing the GOK lab report based on the 15 key parameters that were deployed to assess government performance across the 23 ministries, 51 state departments, and 348 semi-autonomous government agencies, SAGA.
Also in the itinerary is a meeting between the executive and Kenya Kwanza allied legislative. The meeting with legislator will likely focus on various legislative agendas, with emphasis on the Affordable Housing Bill to give legal backing for the implementation of the Affordable Housing Project that remains a key priority area for the government.
Tunaenda katika muhula wa tatu huu ambao tunaweza kushughulikia sana katika awamu ya kwanza ya Mheshimiwa William Ruto, na hususan tunaangalia tutakuwaje na wakati huu ambapo tupo na yale maono ambayo lazima yafikiwe kule bungeni.
The retreat comes in the wake of Kenya's bid for the AU Commission chairperson seat, which opposition leader Raila Odinga has since expressed his interest.
There comes a time when we have to be patriotic and in the spirit of nationhood advance the gains that we have made at the international level. And whilst we may have political differences here in Kenya, that cannot be questioned in terms of the capacity to deliver for the Honorable Raila Odinga, the former Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya.
A section of Azimio coalition leaders have dispelled claims that Raila Odinga's entry into the African Union Commission chairperson position will cause rifts and disintegrate the Azimio coalition. Led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, the leaders said the unity of the party is intact. They reiterated calls for a bipartisan support of Odinga's candidature to the African Union.
Azimio leaders have come to the defense of the coalition against claims of possible disintegration of the coalition in the event Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leader Raila Odinga bags the AU Commission chairperson position. Speaking in Nairobi, leaders who attended a church service and later toured Kenyatta Market maintained the coalition is united and the entry of Odinga into the African Union will in no way create gaps in Azimio.
Baba yako ni baba yako. Akuwe Australia, akuwe Canada, akuwe Addis Ababa, baba ni nani? Baba. Si ndio? Nataka niwaambie kama katibu mkuu wa chama cha ODM, hakuna mahali baba ameenda. Kwani ni mara ya kwanza baba kwenda safari?
Tutaendelea kusimama imara na tunasimama na Wakenya.
Opposition will always be there. Hata tumeona revolutions zinaweza anzishwa hata na mtu anauza umbrella. Opposition can come from even media or even anyone, even teachers can form an opposition wing na ikue vigorous. So zi lazima watu wasiogope. Opposition, we are still united na mwananchi ndio ule anaangalia vile kazi inafanya.
They further call on Azimio allied leaders not to be compelled to shift their allegiance to other political factions, but instead focus on strengthening the coalition. The coalition leaders reiterated calls to lower the cost of living, urging members of parliament to shoot down the Affordable Housing Bill 2023, which is before parliament.
Bei ya sukari warudishwe wapi? Chini. Bei ya unga warudishwe wapi? Chini. Sio. Tafadhali, bei ya stima warudishwe wapi? Chini. Wapi? Chini. Bei mafuta arudishwe wapi? Chini. Na hii bili yao wanasema ya kwamba wanaleta kwenye bunge. Sisi tukifika kwa bunge tutaipinga, tutaiangusha.
Mimi naomba tu kitu kimoja. If you must vote on that unfortunate thing, vote against it. That is our party position kama Azimio la Umoja One Kenya.
Wamekutana na Naivasha leo kuunda jama vile wataongeza kodi ikifika Tuesday next week. Sisi tumekuja hapa Kenyatta kusema hiyo bill wanataka kuleta ya housing, wajue ikifika kwa bunge it will be dead on arrival. Tutaangusha mapema.
On Thursday, the coalition is set to hold its parliamentary group meeting to strategize on countering what they termed as punitive legislations.
Thank you, Gladys Mungai, for that report. Now, gender-based violence activists under the banner Nguvu Change are calling for stricter laws that will deter the rising cases of gender-based violence in the country. Valerie Aura, a survivor of gender-based violence, says they have started an online campaign to call authorities to action. Through the petition, they want county governments to be mandated to establish safe houses for victims of violence, that is. This comes as residents of Marimaini estate in Juja, Kiambu County try to come to terms with the death of Faith Chebet, who was allegedly killed by her boyfriend Timothy Kipto.
Kenyan women are confronted with diverse forms of gender-based violence. Some face physical, psychological, sexual, social-economic violence, among others. The recent past has seen an increase in reported cases of gender-based violence in the country. Gender-based activists under the banner Nguvu Change have started an online campaign to compel those in authorities to support the calls against any forms of violence. Valerie Aura, a survivor of gender-based violence, says there is need for those in leadership to support calls for stricter laws against all forms of GBV and ensure establishment of safe houses where victims can seek refuge.
People keep telling them, you need to leave leave the violent environment, but you don't give a solution. We don't tell them this is a safe space you can go, safe place you can go as you rebuild your lives. And so they have to leave again with the perpetrators, since most of them are people well known to them.
On her part, Josephine Mwende, a mother with cerebral palsy, has initiated an online petition for public hospitals in Nairobi to stop what she termed is rampant cases of obstetric violence against women with disabilities.
We don't have the language interpreters in the hospitals. We don't have the medicine practitioners who are aware of various types of disabilities. So, like for example, if you go to the hospital and you are a woman who is expectant and you have speech impairment, who will give you enough time to listen to you?
Their efforts come as residents of Marimaini Estate in Juja, Kiambu County try to come to terms with yet another death of a woman in the hands of her lover. The assailant, identified as Timothy Kipto, is said to have attacked his girlfriend at her friend's house.
Tulikuwa tumetulia hapo majuu, hapo first floor. Nikafanya kusikia nduru. Mimi nikadhani watoi wako mazao wanacheza. Nikatoka. So kutoka nikaona boy sasa. Nikaangalia chini. Alikuwa na kisu. Akadunga dem. Akamdunga shingo. Akamdunga, ilikuwa tu visu mingi. Si kisu moja ama mbili.
Huyu jamaa naona kufikia sasa alikuwa amepelekwa kwa hospitali kwa sababu pia naye alijaribu kujiua lakini ikashindikana. Pengine kwa kujikatakata hapo hajaweza kumanage kukufa.
And away from that, President William Ruto says Kenya intends to strengthen its diplomatic relations with Brazil, more so in the fields of agricultural production and technology, education, trade and commerce. Now, the president, who is attending the ongoing Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, also encouraged the vaccine manufacturing companies within African Union member states to put up their companies in Kenya's special economic zones.
President William Ruto, while co-hosting a meeting on vaccine manufacturing in Africa with International Vaccine Institute in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, also said Kenya is committed to collaborate with valued partners like Africa Union Commission, Africa Medicines Agency, World Health Organization and other regional and international stakeholders to create an enabling environment for vaccine manufacturing in Africa by mobilizing adequate resources and sharing knowledge and best practices.
The time has come for the African Union member states to take bold and decisive steps in implementing homegrown solutions to our health security challenges. As regards vaccines, we must build a holistic ecosystem incorporating the entire value chain all the way from research and development to clinical trials, local production, as well as efficient distribution and delivery.
He encouraged vaccine manufacturing companies to invest in Kenya, saying the special economic zones will provide necessary environment for vaccine manufacturing in Africa.
And you have an opportunity to set this up in Kenya. We have a special economic zone ready that you can manufacture for local consumption in Kenya and for our region. Again, realizing the importance of us building the capabilities and the necessary environment for us to produce pharmaceutical products locally.
The president also met President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva of Brazil and said the two countries will strengthen their diplomatic ties and target to set up a joint ministerial committee. The head of state also unveiled the statue in honor of former Tanzanian President, the late Julius Nyerere, at the African Union Commission in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Thank you, Tilio Marco. Now, several people were injured in an early morning accident yesterday that occurred around Globe Cinema roundabout here in Nairobi. The bus traveling from Uthiru to the Nairobi CBD reportedly collided with two vehicles along the route. Reports indicate that the accident was as a result of reckless driving. Now, the victims were swiftly taken to the Kenyatta National Hospital and Bagathi Hospital for urgent medical attention. Both the driver and the conductor of the bus remain at large with no arrests so far.
Hii basi ilianza accident huko Uthiru, ikataa kugongana na Latema, akaweza kuhepa. Tukaenda mpaka Uthiru stage, tena akarudi reverse, akakuja akagonga gari ingine, akavunja kioo ya mbele, wakamlipa
hapa hivyo, ikagonga pavement, ikarus control, ikaingia pale hivyo. Lakini iligonga gari ndogo pande ile, hiyo gari hata ikusimama hiyo gari ndogo.
Naona tu mimi nilipata tu ndere akipotea, kapasi akiona alikuwa amevaa shati ya blue na kakoti na ni mrevi, akapotea akaingia hii side akapotea, alikuwa anakimbia akiwa amefunga hivi macho, akaenda akaingia tawa akaingilia na huko akapotea.
Moving on, a war of words erupted at a funeral service in Lubao, Kakamega County, as Kakamega Governor, that is Fernandez Barasa, and Senator Boni Khalwale locked horns over the management of the county. This comes as trouble is brewing in Trans Nzoia County, with the Governor, George Natembeya, being accused of frustrating efforts by county assembly members to oversight county operations. Here are the details of the continued political drumbeats.
Kakamega Governor Fernandez Barasa and his Senator Boni Khalwale are at odds for the umpteenth time. The two exchanged bitter words at a funeral in Lubao, Kakamega County, of a service delivery to the residents.
I don't need any lecture
from Khalwale kufanya. Wewe kazi yako ni kwenda kuleta pesa so that you give us the money. Last year, when we were in Senate, wewe ulikuwa mstari wa mbele kukashifu Oparanya for misuse of funds in Kakamega County.
Babu, mimi naelewa the meaning of devolution. Na hiyo pesa nikileta hapa, niko na jukumu ya pili. Niko na jukumu ya kukuuliza hiyo pesa unatumia namna gani. That is the constitution of Kenya.
On one end, Khalwale said Governor Fernandez should take his focus off the 2027 general election and work for the people of Kakamega, while on the other end, Baraza told off the senator, insisting that he has a manifesto that got him elected and that he should stick to his oversight role.
Baada ya mwaka moja umesahau kazi yako, unaanza kumezea mate kiti ya ugavana. I want to tell you Khalwale today, wembe ni ule ule.
Ndio ningependa kukutia moyo bwana gavana na kuomba utoe focus kwa siasa ya 2027. 2027 itafika. Utakuwa na mpinzani, awe Ross, awe Perpetua, awe Amng'oka, awe Elsie, awe Dr. Boni Khalwale, utakuwa na mpinzani.
Meanwhile, Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya has been called out for allegedly frustrating oversight on funds allocated to the county by those mandated by the Constitution.
Lakini shida yangu ile imekuwa Trans Nzoia hii. Nikisema ukweli, huyu senator hataki tufanye kazi. Sasa, nyinyi mlinichagua niwaletee pesa hapa Trans Nzoia. Mimi nimeleta pesa bila kuchelewa. Sasa nikiuliza hiyo pesa imeenda wapi? Mimi nakuwa mbaya ama mimi ni mkabila? Si lazima niulize.
Trans Nzoia Senator Alan Chesang was speaking during the burial of the Deputy Governor Philomena Biner's father in Trans Nzoia County.
Abdiaziz Hashim reporting there. Now, the government has been urged to partner with all stakeholders, including children, in its efforts to curb the effects of climate change. Environment ambassadors caution that the current and future generations risk permanent disaster. Beg your pardon, if the threat of climate is not addressed with boldness and urgency it deserves. Let's get more details on that story.
Hundreds of children gathered in Rowaland Scouts Camp, Nairobi, to champion for climate change agenda. It's here where environmental ambassadors call for concerted efforts in curbing the effects of climate change. Through the foundation's ambassador, Alice Wanjiru, the children emphasize that they must be given a front seat in climate solution discussions.
Inspired by Wangari Maathai because how she cared about the environment so much that she even fought for Uhuru Park.
Alice is a good, she's an eco-hero, especially with the things that she's done. I came to know that she's planted more than 50,000 trees. That is wow. For a young girl like her, only 10 years, that is a great milestone. So we urge the other children and the parents to also support the children in becoming the eco-heroes.
According to them, children, youth, and future generations are not only the most impacted by climate change, but also have a key role to play in ensuring a sustainable tomorrow. The event was organized through the partnership of Kenya Scouts Association and Green Hummingbird Foundation. Elsewhere, Machakos County Government, in partnership with Kisaka Foundation, have embarked on an ambitious tree planting exercise in open spaces and schools.
Hao watoto, in your mission, hiyo umesema unataka kupanda miti 500. Maybe you can see how each can plant one tree and take good care of it. Sindio? Ndio tuendelee. Hawa. Ukifanya hivyo itakuwa ni jambo nzuri.
Let's look at sports now, where former FKF Premier League champions Tusker FC has moved up to the third position in the league standing after beating KCB 2-0 in a league match played at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. Chris Erambo netted the first goal in the 67th minute, then John Njoguna added the second goal in the 80th minute. In other matches, Sofapaka shared spoils with Muhoroni Youth after the two teams played to a 2-2 draw at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. Kariobangi Sharks played to a 1-1 draw against Talanta FC at the Police Sacco Stadium in Nairobi. Kakamega Homeboys were held to a barren draw at the Buhungu Stadium backyard by visitors AFC Leopards. Gor Mahia tops the league standings with 47 points, 8 ahead of second place Postal Rangers. Tusker FC is third with 37 points. Well, that story brings us to the end of the news this morning. Thank you so much for your company. Next is Victor Law. He'll be taking you through the political arena together with our guests. My name is Maria and hope to see you again next time.
我是怎么挂的？是被渴死的吗？脱水了，身体里的水全都干了。毁灭？农场主挂了？这游戏到底要干嘛呀？
行，跟我进来。壮观吧？这些都是聋子的耳朵。自打他们建成之后，在观测的频段就干扰不断，都跟6月13号晚上发生的一模一样。你和我观测到了宇宙闪烁。教授，难道你不想知道真相吗？啊？
Auntie akona ka forehand. Akona the mark of quality.
Nataka kumaliza mambo hiyo wedding.
Kwanza kiongea kitu kia Patrick sana. Rosifol. Umenimaliza kama chai kwa kikombe. Hizi zote zimebaki December, September, October. Wanaona, anoma itwala.
Ni kama tu nikuje nikwambie uko na kichwa kubwa. Sasa makosa si
au sio? Ndio manake. Okay.
Every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
You'll never have her again. Don't underestimate me.
What was that woman doing here? Let him into the garden so that your father wouldn't notice him. Well, it's all right. It's only natural that he wants to see Nora. No, but Rodrigo doesn't want to see your sister. He wants to see you. No.
Marcelo Escalante has a very complicated life. Why do you want to have more problems? Well, problems mean nothing to me. You'd better start to forget about that man. Do you understand?
You should have considered it before coming back here, would you say? But whether you like it or not, this is also my house. Therefore, I'm staying right here.
Well, I'm terribly sorry for you. I demand you to tell me the kind of relationship that you have with Marcelo. Answer us.
All right, welcome back. Now it's time for us to take a look at what's happening in the world of politics on this particular Monday. We have got so much lined up for you, as I earlier promised. So before then, we usually take a look at what's happening in the traffic situation. Being a Monday, very quickly, my guests are already in studio. Let me start with the CBD. As always, we have the capital city now. The usual culprit, starting with Thika Road, this is where we are. Thika Road, a mess as we speak. This one extends all the way past GSU. Today is going up to around Garden City Mall. This is where the traffic in the CBD is all about. That's Thika Road, to be precise. Coming all the way past GSU headquarters, KC University, Kenya Utalii Hotel, and at the interchange there, that is Muthaiga Square. That is where the problem is, and that also extends toward the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, that side of Kiambu Road. Yes, that is where the problem is. Around Ngara today, there's a bit of some problem as you approach the Globe Roundabout, but you can get an alternative route as you approach the CBD. The western side of the city, that is all the way from Kangemi, ABC Place, coming to Westlands Shopping Center, or thereabout, is moving pretty fine as you come towards National Museum and ultimately into the CBD. How about Langata Road? No, not so far so good. All the way from Uhuru Gardens, I think there's a problem here. Langata Road is always free-flowing. That is just right outside Uhuru Gardens, past Wilson Airport, as you come towards Western Hotel. That is where the problem is. Perhaps there should be some problem. There's a problem there. Langata Road is always okay. Mbagathi Road, iko sawa. That is where it is. Ngong Road, how about Ngong Road? A bit of some traffic as you approach Ring Road Kilimani there because of different, feeder roads like Oledume, etc., etc. But where we are here is at the Junction Mall. That is not so okay. And that also extends towards the other side of Kingara Road, in and out. That's where the problem is. Part of Gitanga Road, so far so good. What Mombasa Road now, awana shida as we speak. How about we head over and see what's happening in the county of Mombasa so far? Not so bad, as you can see. Yes, the new Nyali Bridge today looks good. What about Kongowea Market? A bit of some business there as you approach the lights there, or Kengeleni. After that, Nyali Road looking pretty fine as you head towards the side of Malindi, etc., etc. And yes, the crossing channel, that is Likoni. A bit of some traffic today, not a bit of it, but yes, this is where we are. Because of the crossing channel here, the other side of Mombasa and the other side of Likoni, you'll have to be very much patient as we wait for the ferry. And finally, let's come to the county of Kisumu City. Not so bad, not so bad. Kakamega Road coming to Kondele roundabout, all the way as you come towards Kibuye Market, looking pretty fine this particular morning. And the entire part of the city also looks good. So we have to check what's happening and see what's happening here in the city. Yes, Kisumu looking pretty fine. So there's nothing much to talk about here. My guests are already in studio. I have Peter Orero, who is a Member of Parliament, Kibera constituency, already in studio, and Arnold Maliba, who is a Communication Strategic Director. I got it right, Arnold?
Strategic Communication.
Communication, right.
Advisor.
Yeah, advisor. UDA. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Mheshimiwa, you're just our neighbor here. How is our neighbor doing?
Your neighborhood is good.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
We are fine. Kibra is fine.
Yes.
Except the conditions that everyone else knows.
Across the road. We are not so far away from here.
Yeah, we are next to the city.
Yes.
We get all the good things and the bad things. But we are doing well, except now the pressure is about the feeling of the people about the state of the economy.
Yeah.
The people are hurting. The prices of the commodities are going up. Even though the other day we saw the dollar come down, but it has not trickled down to the people. They have not felt the decrease in that dollar account. The prices are still going up. Our people are people who live below $1 sometimes.
Yes.
And these informal settlements have people who feel the pinch of the economy. So I come from a constituency where we have the largest informal settlement, I think, in Africa.
Yeah.
And I think when we are here, when we talk about the crunch of the economy, we are the most affected.
Yeah.
And I think that is where we are as members of Kibra community. Yes.
Arnold is not affected.
He looks fine. I don't think he's affected. When you look at his tie, he looks okay.
That's not some good message for you this particular Monday morning. Are you okay?
I am a practicing Christian.
Right.
Being a practicing Christian, I might not necessarily, of course, I understand that I might not be the perfect of human beings, but I also remember the teachings of old that have actually carried us through time, that you count your blessings one by one. Because again, if you are going to look at the bad things, I can tell you, Victor, there are so many bad things, you will not be able to even live past the hour. So from where I sit, I think the state of the nation, number one, I think we've been able to stabilize the macroeconomics a little bit. Central bank, of course, on the other side has ushered in open market operations. And that is why partly you will talk about the dollar. Of course, largely, when you're speaking about the dollar coming down, it will still come down. And from the projections we have as government, we expect that the dollar will go down and stabilize between 130 and 135. Because largely, the dollar's rise was due to speculation. And those are open market dynamics. You can't begrudge people for doing that.
Was it deliberate?
Because they knew that we had a hard stop in June to pay the 2014 Eurobond. So banks and other speculators were holding dollars, knowing that GOK had no option but to pay that particular debt in dollars. Then what did we do as a nation? After balancing out a number of issues and thinking that now we are good to go to the market, remember that we tried to go to the euro market sometimes in 2021, and it was impossible. So after balancing out the economy, working out well, and not easily by a contribution of every individual, including those ones he actually feels like they are so hurt, we were able to actually think, this is, so we went back to the euro market. And with that, then of course, there's a little bit of panic sell, because that shoot was not organic. It was too artificial, because there were those people who actually thought that when they hold it, and we have got a hard stop in June this particular year, there is no way they were not going to make money. And you saw them actually projecting that they would sell the dollar by June at 200. That's not going to happen. So that is one thing I'm looking forward to. This particular week, the government is having, the executive is having a retreat to take stock of what they've done in the last couple of months. Every cabinet secretary and the PSS will be there.
At least now, Mheshimiwa knows that the dollar effect was artificial. It was not
well,
about,
the rise
the global
largely
stability. It was not about global stability. Mheshimiwa, now you are answered.
Maybe that is as an advice, and I think that is his opinion. We are yet to see. Let us give it 3 months and see whether it is stable. Because to me, I think it is digging one hole to fill another hole.
Taking from Peter and
yes,
serving
from
Paul
the
the other
left
side.
to the right. I remember when they went to Japan to get a loan, about 320 something billion, to help stabilize this and the payment of the Eurobond. So, in my view, is that this is quite temporary. It is temporary. It's not about speculations. If it is about speculation, we have taken 1 year and 18 months. This, if it was just speculation, it would have come down then. Because it never takes more than 1 year about speculations. You cannot speculate for 2 years. It is ironical. So let's wait and see. I get my friend where he's coming from, but as a person that believes that this country must run in a more effective manner, about speculation, we want to sit with him here in the next 3 months and see whether it has gone to 120.
Victor,
you have a date.
Just a minute.
You have a date.
Yes, just a minute so that we do justice to this dollar issue. There are 4 general explanations as to the trajectory that we've actually witnessed. And I'll actually give both the good and the bad explanations, just in a minute. Number one, like I said, the stabilization of the macroeconomics, that we've done so well. Even our ability to go back to the euro market is because we have been able to work around that. There are 3 ratios. I'll not go back to that to actually refer to that.
Yeah.
So that is there. That is a fact. Number 2, of course, there is the argument, especially by those who do not like government, that this is the New Year's, the Chinese New Year. But if you were to look back, there was a Chinese New Year last year. The dollar didn't go down. And you can actually check that for the last 5 years, every Chinese New Year, for us, for the last 5 years, there has not been a downward trajectory. So that explanation, like I said, that explanation does not hold. Then you can come to the explanation I gave about the Eurobond specifically, and speculation as such, that there were people, and that is a fact. People knew, and you know there are guys who are very quite clever. Do you know that there are people who knew somehow that you could actually know that the Israeli war, the Palestine-Israeli war, by just observing the stock market, you would actually see that there was specific interest. There are guys who bought into weapon manufacturing equipment, or rather firms immediately. So the Eurobond market is a big explainer to where we are today. And looking at what we have done as government, plus then the Eurobond effect, and the work Mheshimiwa and the others are doing in Parliament, I can tell you 100% that we know and we expect. We are not going to 120. Like I told you, the dollar is going to stabilize at between 130 and 135. We will be there for the longest time. So for those out there who are still holding to their dollars, hoping, because we now have got a stockpile of dollars, and then there is the government-to-government oil deal that has actually also ensured that we do not need dollars immediately. So that in and of itself has worked out. You see, our neighbors down south, for example, they made fun of us about these issues in the past. They are exactly where we are. What so many people do not know in the region is that when Kenya has got a sneeze, the rest of the region does not even have a cold, it has got malaria.
Hold that thought. We are coming back to discuss that one in depth, because that dollar effect, there was a bit of some panic last week, and people went to the market, to the banks, and we also what the deputy president said, that the dollar is going to stabilize for the next 3 days. Mheshimiwa Rais amepanga kazi vizuri, so if you have your monies, stashed somewhere, holding, then go ahead and see what's happening. Let's take a look.
And by the way,
yes,
it is not the rate, the exchange rate. That is exclusively a measure of the stability of the country. It is not exclusive. You can go to other countries where the exchange rate, you go to Ghana, you get the exchange rate. You go to Nigeria, you get the exchange. That is not the only measure of the stability of the economy of a country. So there are other factors that we really need to go into and look holistically what stabilizes the economy of the country.
And as I spoke about stabilization of macroeconomics, those are the foundations. You see, we have to appreciate where we've come from. That we were somewhere and now we are not there. Paul says that I was once a child and now I'm an old man.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. On the front page of the People Daily, as usual, Raila fight for AU job rattles allies. That is on the front page of the People Daily here. Raila fight for AU job rattles allies. This is what's on the front page of the People Daily. What you have here. There is a panic. ODM calls for crucial meeting to discuss party's future if opposition chief clinches seat, as Kalonzo assures that Azimio coalition will be safe in safe hands. That is what you have here. Yes, Raila is out of the country for a conference in Berlin. And now, again, still on the front page, Ruto's headache in Naivasha, key talks. This is what we have here on the splash of the People Daily. After suffering string of self-inflicted setbacks in court on legacy plans and rising despair by core supporters, wounded president retreats to tech stock. This is what we have. Yes, so the PG is happening this particular morning today in Naivasha. Raila fight for AU job rattles allies. And now there is a meeting to discuss party's future if opposition chief clinches seat. And Kalonzo now assures that the Azimio coalition will be in safe hands. This is what we have to hear here. Again, there is a bit of some back and forth between the executive and the governors, where the state released 3 billion shillings for health promoters. And now Governors are also planning to have a meeting to discuss over this, whether to get it off their hands or take it to the national government. This is what we have. What we have, auditor sheds light on passport delays. We'll take a look at what is there. But gentlemen, let's start with what you have here. Raila fight for AU job rattles allies. Let me start with you, Mheshimiwa. Is it ODM has called for a crucial meeting? Are you aware about this?
As a party of the, and a member of the ODM party,
right,
it is not about the AU job that makes us to call a meeting. From where I sit, it has not been official that we are calling a meeting to discuss about the AU. Our party leader is out of the country, is in Germany now. He will be back, I think, this week. And really it has not rattled us as a political party. We are all aware that the leader of the party, in fact, today when I was reading many accolades, some people are saying that he's the bedrock of democracy. He is the epitome of selflessness. And people have come with many terms to describe him. But I think this is just an opportunity that has come, and it is being filled by somebody who has all the credentials. When you look at his credential, looking as is a Pan-Africanist, he has the knowledge on how Africa works. When people are down there, is the only voice that can come out to talk about what inflicts the African community. And I think when this has come to be our pet in East Africa, we are quite happy that the person who may feel this maybe is in the name of our party leader Raila. But it has not rattled as a party. And I think when we talk of a party, it is the ODM party. But we also have a Azimio coalition. You realize that last time, the other political parties in the Azimio coalition, they just came to give their support to their leader who they feel has the knowledge, the skill, and whatever is required to fill that position. So in my opinion, it is not setting for us the pace. We are setting for it the pace.
You're setting for it the pace?
Yes.
All right. Arnold, UD also, Kenya Kwanza also supported Raila's candidature to the AU.
Yeah, as a party we did a press conference on Saturday to lend our support to the candidature and aspiration of the ODM party leader Raila Odinga, as he looks forward to aspiring for the AUC chair. We are quite, as the leader of society, the UDA party believes that there are domestic issues that we keep at home. And like any person who is mature in a relationship, you know that there are things you keep in-house. So when our son goes out there to represent a country, Raila remains a Kenyan. He deserves that particular seat. He's among the very few people in this particular country who who've got global connections. He has got very distinguished credentials when it comes to democracy. And I would dare say, Raila si mbaya sana, ni wale tu watu wanamzunguka. Having said that,
I think that it needs to
no,
because
straight to the rattling, to the headline.
The word sada is negated by the word mbaya.
So to the rattling, I just needed to say this, that of course, Raila's exit, for example, we as Kenya Kwanza and the UDA specifically, are not worried whether he sticks onto the political scene or not, because at least we know that the outcome in 2027 is already determined for us. We really are not worried about him being there.
Happy about this?
We are happy with Raila going forward, and he's a Kenyan. But when he talks about rattling, we also understand that we are going to see more balanced and quality leaders like Mwalimu here show up, especially when Raila leaves. There is a class of people on that particular show of politics who do not do any other thing, because Baba has built enough premium, so there are some coat hangers on who just show up, and in the name that they will be fighting for Baba, they have been winning. So there will definitely be a little bit of political funerals in Nyanza, Western, and places like Coast, where there have been individuals.
What did you just say?
Yeah, there will be political, and we wish Baba well, because the quality of leaders, and I'll give you an example. Nyanza, for example, has got by mean, let me use the median age, has got by median age the oldest leaders. It's followed by Western and then Coast. it has got, there are places where you really do not have to have, and you know, he is actually one of those guys. He comes from a constituency that has given us very good leaders, including Baba himself. But there are other people around, but like I said, there are, kuna watu wanazunguka Baba hapo hivyo, who are only there kusema Baba Ria, Baba Tibim.
Are you one of them, Mheshimiwa?
No, I already have qualified that statement.
Are you one of those people around Baba?
I think normally we always say that when you bathe, you cannot see your back. It is only somebody who can see your back. And already has seen the back.
Wisdom will kill us today. Let's bring in Biko. Biko Show is an advocate of the High Court, also joining us on set. Biko,
yes.
Welcome to the program.
Thank you so
We are
much.
just taking a look at what is here quickly on the front page of these particular people here. What do you make of this headline? Raila's AU job rattles allies.
It actually depends who these allies are. And, you know, Raila's political life has spanned over the years. And I don't know whether from the Kenya Kwanza side, they would say it is good riddance that Mzee is now leaving the political scene. But then I wouldn't really want to say that he's leaving the political scene per se, because he's joining the AU doesn't mean that he cannot even, for instance, resign and come back and vie for presidency in 2027. When my colleagues from Kenya Kwanza say that the 2027 election is already predetermined, or it's already they already know the outcome, I say that is a fallacy. It is too early to even say that 2027 results are already known by now. So for me, I can't say that it is Raila's exit from Kenyan politics. It is an opportunity that has presented itself for Raila Amolo Odinga to vie for that position of the AU, the AUC chair. He still has an opportunity of coming back. He can even resign in 2026, and you'll still see him vie for presidency in 2027. So it is not his political death insofar as Kenya's politics is concerned. And it is true that, of course, Raila is best suited for this seat. He has the political and global connections. And he's been around for quite some time. So it will be a very interesting, a scenario to follow, even in the coming days, as we try to galvanize and we try to mobilize our colleagues in the region. Yes.
All right. So this is what we have here, and Mwalimu says, but he was the principal, Jamhuri. So that's why you call him.
No, Upper Hill.
Upper Hill, right?
Yeah. Langata, Upper Hill, the great.
There was that nickname given to Upper Hill. What's the nickname? We have Patch. We have so many nicknames. Upper Hill. What was the nickname of Upper Hill?
No, it's just Upper.
All right. Alumni is here. Alumni. Any alumni in studio? No, we don't. Otherwise, mungepata kiboko. All right. So this is what we have here. On the front page of the Standard here, cheers to GS. Ruto no longer darling of many. This is on the front page of the Standard newspaper. Cheers to GS. Ruto no longer darling of the many. They explain increasingly the president is facing hostile crowds from his support base. It started in Rift Valley, and now Mount Kenya has perfected the art of jeering leaders in his presence. Has the populace run out of patience with their leaders, or are they just frustrated? That is the explainer here. Are they frustrated, or has the populace run out of patience with their leaders, or are they just frustrated? That is what's making the splash of the Daily Nation, Standard I mean. And the president, let me quote what he said, that I want leaders to be respected. Heckling is for ODM. And we don't want ODM shenanigans in UDA. We do not want this kind of nonsense. We want a united country. Arnold,
yes.
He said this, right?
Yeah, he did say that.
He did say that.
I wish to look at the clip if we could get.
I think this happened somewhere in Meru.
It is a quote.
That's what I'm saying. If I looked at the clip, normally you are in journalism. You know there's something called context. There's the pre-text, the text itself, and the post-text. No, I'm just saying, putting that statement in context is good for us to actually discuss, as opposed to actually just saying that we ran with that. You know, there's a story, you guys call it an angle.
Okay.
So the headline there already is talking about cheers to GS. So that particular angle is what they are pursuing. And I would say that for purposes of this show, it would have been good if we were to look at the context. So when you look at let's talk about the noises.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, so the noises, all politics, first of all, Mwalimu will tell you, is local. So you cannot use the different crowd scenarios to say that you have got a threshold of data that can then justify this particular headline. And of course, the assumptions that are put there. I'll tell you why. For every incident, there was an explanation to it. It's not systemic. But of course, for a person, you know, when William Ruto was running, he was looking for votes. During campaigns, it's very unlikely to actually, wherever you go, the crowds are already organized, and there are people who are coming to your shows, or rather to the meeting, are people who are aligned to that particular end. Now, he is the president. He is government. He no longer can talk about promises. Once you get to government, and Mwalimu will tell you that once you are elected, you get to a point called end of talking. You must do work.
All right.
So, where are we when we talk about that? If you look at Kiambu, what was happening? Specifically, it was about the governor, some local MP, people organizing and working around. When you go to Meru, you know the issue that has been there about the murder of an activist, the continuous fight between the governor there and those who are trying to impeach her. Yeah. It's all around that. For us who work in the party, we actually have got our hands on type of news that if they went out here, you would think that the world is burning out. But our politics is quite dynamic. So
let's take a break.
I do not think that what we have seen so far justifies this headline that there is a trajectory to this, because all these particular incidents have got local explanations to them. I will tell you, even in Rift Valley, when there was the booing, it was about connection of electricity.
All right.
And it was about somebody feeling like, okay, we can actually pick up after that.
They also have their voice to make.
Yeah.
You've made yours. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more. Alon Maliva, I have Wabika Share and Mheshimiwa Rero here from our neighbors. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
我是怎么挂的？是被渴死的吗？脱水了，身体里的水全都干了。毁灭？农场主挂了？这游戏到底要干嘛呀？
什么？跟我进来。壮观吧？这些都是聋子的耳朵。自打他们建成之后，在观测的频段就干扰不断，都跟6月13号晚上发生的一模一样。你和我观测到了宇宙闪烁。教授，难道你不想知道真相吗？啊
？The king in the land of
This February, precious moments with Channel One entail endless hours of warm sentiments.
I really love you.
Oh, Lord.
Joy.
Did you get the job, Letty?
Romance.
Oh, babe.
Affection. Passion. Family.
Who are those flowers for? Oh, I'm sure they're for Lucia.
Fulfillment.
This is so sweet.
That's Dad.
An array of programs specially selected for you to give you and your loved ones the cozy feeling of being at home.
Impressive.
Baby, let me tell you.
The treat is on us.
Are you serious?
Just give us a chance. Make a date with KBC Channel 1 in the month of love for a heartwarming experience.
You will love it.
right, welcome back. Now, adding to the front page of the Daily Nation, this is what we have here on the front page of the Daily Nation. Welcome back, Nur Maliba, Bika Shoya, and Molimu Peter Orero here with me in studio. Let's take a look at what we have here on the front page of the Daily Nation, just making sense of what's on the headlines. Why the mountain is restless. This is what you have. Why the mountain is restless. We have got three faces. We have got Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and now President William Ruto. The explainer here is that it's the region that installed Kenya Kwanza in power in the 2022 presidential election, but the discontent brewing in the vote-rich zone more than a year after the polls has the top brass of the ruling party pitching a camp there to turn the tide. Just what is happening there. That is on the front page of the Daily Nation. But for the sake of fairness, let me come back to the Standard and ask Biko a quick one, maybe a minute to put your voice on this. Cheers to GS. Ruto no longer darling of many. Go ahead.
Let me say one thing, Victor. During the electioneering period,
yes,
of course, politicians come with promises. One would ordinarily expect that President William Ruto, as he was then a deputy president, that he understood how government works, he understood where the resources are and everything that goes on within government. And so therefore, the promises that William Ruto back in the days as deputy president gave to the electorate, you know, Kenyans took it, you know, as the truth, that he understood how things happen within government, and if he promised them that things would work in a particular way within the first 1 year of his being in government, then there was a legitimate expectation that the same would happen. The same hasn't happened. And that is why you are seeing that you know, that there is discontent within the electorate who feel that this is one person who had knowledge within government, and he promised on the basis of that knowledge. And if he promised Kenyans that he was, you know, that something was going to happen within a particular period of time, and it doesn't happen, ordinarily you expect that Kenyans are going to have issues with him. And it is because of that promise that he gave to Kenyans, and especially the people from the, you know, from the central region of this country, that they gave him their vote overwhelmingly. So when it now comes to a situation whereby he's either going back on his words, or he hasn't fulfilled the promises that he gave to them, you would definitely expect that there would be a backlash.
Yeah.
Yes.
As a politician, Mheshimiwa, you'd expect such to happen probably in the political arena. Things can change, even in your own backyard.
Yeah, of course, things can change, but sometimes I get amazed when the Kenya Kwanza, they always say that they got empty coffers. I remember in 2002, when the former president, Mwai Kibaki, took over from the late President Moi, the economy was in a worse state. But he never talked about it. And after 2 years, I think it started, it grew, the economy grew up. But here, every day, every morning, every evening, what we are fed on is that we got this economy in a bad state. Yet, the current head of state was the vice president at that time. And when he was making some of these promises, I think it was based on his knowledge on the state of the economy. And I'm happy that my friend here says he's a real Christian. And during the campaign, all of us know that the current head of state is a staunch Christian who always goes to church. And many people believe this word because as a Christian, you cannot pronounce what you are not able to do. Like now, me, during my campaigns, there are things that I promise my electors that when I go, these are what I am going to do. And in my first year, I have tried to do what I promised my electorate so that they can also have confidence in your leadership. So these years, you know, the electorate will not jeer directly the president, but will jeer his people. He was saying the people who surround our party leader. So the people surrounding the head of state
are the problem.
When they are jeered, then that is a pointer to the head of state that here things are not right. When they jeer, I think it was Kihika in Nakuru, the governor, who is one of the closest and the staunch supporter of the leader, they are sending a message that here things are not right. So everywhere, the Meru, why are they jeering in Meru? This was some of the, where he got almost 90% of the votes. Kiambu, he got 90% of the, and that is where we have the majority leader coming from. Our majority leader in the assembly comes from Kiambu. And that is where we had the jeering the most, where the deputy president almost, he lost it. He lost his cool and said that you cannot do this in front of the king. Those were his statements. So I think this is a big point that people are getting jittery. When you talk of Mount Kenya, what interests them most is the coffee, it is the milk, and it is the tea. So what have they done on the prices of some of these commodities? It has gone down. It is not where they took it from. Okay. So we expect that these years, they are never going to go down. They will always go up until some of these things are sorted out. Okay. So I think that is where the problem is coming from.
Very good. Yeah. Let's cross very quickly.
Can I add something on that, please?
When I come back, as you'll be talking about, because it's almost the same as this.
Okay.
Biko, yes. Why the mountain is restless? Just almost the same thing Mwalimu was talking about. That's why I had to bring this.
Yes.
Why the mountain is restless? What do you make of this headline?
There'll be a lot of focus on the mountain. Remember that the president comes from the Rift Valley, and you do not expect that he will, that the president will receive hostility from his own backyard. But then there is this factor that is the deputy presidency, and you remember even in the run-up to the elections last year, there was the question as to where exactly would the candidates, the front runners, pick their their deputies from. The Mount Kenya region was fronted as one of the regions where the deputy president must come from, and that is why all the major political parties rush to the Mount Kenya region to pick their deputies from. There is an expectation from these people from the mountain region that because we gave you so much vote, because we gave you so much support, that there'll be reciprocity. That we gave you the votes, and we expect something in return. We expect that there'll be development. We expect that our people are going to be employed. We expect that we are going to receive certain favors from the government. And if the same doesn't come, if the roads that were constructed as at the time when President Uhuru was in government suddenly come to a halt, and so on and so forth, then there'll be a blame. And people are not only blaming the president, people are even blaming the deputy president for probably not doing that which they expected that the deputy president would do. So you expect that out of all the regions within this country, that there'll be a specific focus on the Mount Kenya region, and probably if we go to Western Kenya, there'll be a specific focus to regions like Bungoma that gave president a lot of votes. So to whom much is given, much is expected, and the people from the mountain are expecting that they gave the president so much for him to win his presidency, that so much is expected of him in terms of bias, in terms of development and so on and so forth. So there is a focus in the mountains, not for a bad reason, but then for the reason that they gave him the vote, they expect that he's going to.
Why do you think the three gentlemen are deliberate on the front page? What do you make of these three gentlemen?
The three gentlemen, one of these three gentlemen is the president, and like I've said, there is expectation that the president is going to perform.
Yes.
Two, there is this other gentleman on the left side of that page.
Deputy President?
Yes, the Deputy President. Yes, this gentleman has a task of galvanizing, the Mount Kenya region, because he is the topmost politician, as it were, right now. Now, the gentleman seated, or rather, in between these two gentlemen, has been the king. Yes, that is the former president. Has been the kingpin of the central, of the Mount Kenya for a very long time. Why is he being put in the middle of this? These two other, these other two Kenyans? Is because, and this is my take on it. The deputy president, as it were, right now, appears like he no longer has the sway that he had as at the time when we were having the elections. Now the president, the former president, is coming in to say that he's now, you know, like he said, I think it was on Thursday or was it on Friday, that he is now coming back to do what? To consolidate his base, to bring all the Mount Kenya back to one basket. So the three gentlemen have a very strong say on the politics of the mountain, and it is time that the deputy president, as it were right now, realizes that the mountain is slowly slipping out of his hands, and the former president will not hesitate to take back his position as the president of the mountain.
All right, okay, there we have it. Arnold, what do you make of this? Go ahead.
I needed to build up from the other end and then build up, come to this because it's, like you said, related. Number one, cheers to cheer, or rather cheers to cheers, and then building up to why the mountain is actually restless. I'd love to say this, that everybody seated on this table knows that governance is not child's play. Governance is not child's play. And that when it comes to leadership, President William Ruto knows that this is not, he's not building a church where people actually have to extol their leader and everything else. He is leading a nation. So when members of parliament from Kenya Kwanza went to him at some point when things were so difficult, and the media was running narratives that looked like they were so difficult.
You're talking about the Standard?
I'm talking about at some point. We are building on that, so it has got historicity to it.
All right.
What did the president tell the MPs? He told them, we were elected to work and deliver. This is not a time to be popular. It is time to work. There will be time to be popular, but for the time being, there is work to be done. When the children of Israel were told by God, if God had told the children of Israel that to get honey, you have to take care of bees, and bees sting, it's difficult work. To get milk, you will have to go and get Napier, taking care of cattle. I have some, I know it's difficult. It's not easy work. People wake up in the morning to ensure that your cows are well fed, they are sickly, you have to treat them before you can actually get the milk. They wouldn't know. So what am I saying? I'm trying to say that the promises William Ruto made, 172 promises in the manifesto, are about a process. And Kenyans must trust the process because see what has happened to the price of food, see how the economy looks like, see what is happening to the dollar, see what we have built in the last 16 months. We've done so much. So trusting the process and coming to birth is a difficult process. If you've been lucky and gone to, I'm saying if you've been really lucky and been to a maternity ward, you know that the ambience there is not very good. But then immediately after that, there's the joy. That is why we are seated here. We are the promise and the joy that bringing us forth was quite a painful process. So there is the labor that is being put to it. Kenyans need to trust the process. You can look at what has been done in the last 16 months. Yet you can also walk back 5 years ago and see the projections that had actually been put forth. You can see what's happening to our neighbors. So I said those blends, it's important to look at that. So many things have calmed down. He talked about, William Ruto has never been the vice president of Kenya. He was only a deputy. I know you forgot that. During the campaign, they were talking about history being important. He doesn't want us to talk about where we came from, or rather, he doesn't want us to talk about now in reference to where we've come from. I'll tell you this, Victor. Anyone who doesn't know where they've come from, they don't know where they are, and they most likely do not know where they are going. So it's important to get there. Talking about the mountain being restless, this headline is driven by regional kingship mentality. They've not moved there. The people of Mount Kenya in 2022 dissolved the office of the regional kingpin and decided that they will go to Nairobi as a people, and that this unconstitutional office that has existed de facto, and it's not de jure, needs to be done away with. They have joined the people, progressive people like the people from Western Kenya, for example. They did away with this thing called regional kingpins. That office does not exist, but some other people hold to it so strongly. So, so if you look at that particular headline, we're talking about the mountain being restive and everything else. That is housekeeping at the mountain level, at a regional level, where there is still a little bit of a problem. You know, the person of Uhuru Kenyatta is not a small man. He's a former president, right? So when he, unlike Kibaki, does not want to walk away from active politics and allow the region to organize himself, he's actually in the middle because he's meddling. If he weren't meddling in the politics of Mount
allow me
Kenya,
to ask you this. Would you be
we
surprised?
will not be having these problems today.
Would you be surprised to see Raila Odinga facing opposition in his backyard?
He has always faced.
Talk of Mombasa,
He
talk
has
of Nairobi,
always. That's what I'm saying.
Nyanza.
But
would you be surprised?
Raila Odinga has never faced.
Would you be surprised?
I am not surprised because Raila Odinga...
Would you be surprised if Raila Odinga faced opposition?
Why would I be surprised? And he's already facing opposition. Raila has always had opposition in his backyard. There was once upon a time when James Orengo and Anyang' Nyong'o went against Raila.
Years ago.
But still, it was opposition. Today, we still have Goto Nyango laws of this one.
How
we
many
have
votes?
Goto Doyo Widi.
How many
we
votes
still have
did,
Goto Walo.
it
is opposition. We are talking about. We are talking qualitatively. We will get to quantitative later on.
Okay. My point, what I wanted to drive at is, we all know what happened during last election. It was all painted yellow during UDA, but this time around, it's not the same.
Not really.
That's what I'm talking
there
about.
was blue everywhere. We even saw a red carpet at KICC. We were sold fear. There used to be press conferences in Kajiado on a certain lawn in Atwoli's home. Those photos, people would go there to just sell fear. By just showing up in Atwoli's home, take photos in Atwoli's lawn, and just share those photos. The kind of fear that was sold from Atwoli's lawns, it was so heavy.
I think I really want to pick from him for his correction. I love it because he said he has never been a vice president. He was a deputy president. It means that he had more power because he was elected directly by the people and therefore was answerable to the people. He would never shy away by saying that he was not part of the government. When you are elected by the people, you carry the sovereignty of the people, and that is the Kenyans. So when he was in the government that time, it means that whatever happened in that government, he must take also full responsibility because he was a deputy president. And if he felt that it was not right, he would have resigned. Our party leader has done it many times. While he was a member of parliament and felt that he could not move on, he resigned and went and contested on a different party. So when your feelings, you feel that you have so much in you that you must do as a person, as a politician, then you need to chart your own way. But I want to say this. We'll call it political naivety when we say we can dissolve the term kingpin. Because in politics, for you to be respected, then the term kingpin automatically counts because people surround you. So you are their king. Even Gachagua referred to him as the king. The king was there in Kiambu. So the term kingpin can never be done away as a politician. But you know him is not, he's just practicing. But he's not a politician. So,
just a moment on that. It's just a point of information. You see, when I said that the people of Mount Kenya dissolved the office of a regional kingpin and decided, like what happened during Pentecost, that they will go to the Holy of Holies directly as a people. If that kingpin business was still sticking and was important, the person of Uhuru Kenyatta, who was not only the president, would actually have led the region to where it would have gone to this other side.
If that is the case,
he didn't.
If that's the case, then why is he appearing here?
Because he's meddling. He's in the middle. He's a meddler. That's why he's
then why is he appearing here?
He needs to actually move from the center and become a statesman. By the way, Uhuru Kenyatta would make a very good candidate for the UN Secretary General. But if he continues to do these things down here, he will not really focus. See what he's done in DRC. He's done good work.
I think he's taking my time and he's bringing a lot of parallelism on Pentecost and politics. And they're always at variance. When you are talking about real politics now, we don't bring in Pentecost because we lose focus.
Religion is the best of politics, by the way.
Yeah, but we lose focus at this point in time. What we are saying is that he's, from his own words, he's saying that he's meddling. You cannot meddle when there is a president and a vice president, a deputy president. It means that he has certain backing, he has certain political goodwill, he has people around him that gives him the mandate to do what he's doing. But from where I'm sitting, I would not surely say that the former president is meddling. I think it is the people from Mount Kenya region that are so dissatisfied that they have decided to express their anger by jeering. And this is not only because of the state of the economy. There are many other factors. We realize that one of their own also had been proposed to take over from the deputy president.
Yeah.
And that is Didi Nyoro. When we read from these papers, that he had also advanced his political interests and thought, I think the governor or the senator, Joe of Muranga, had proposed that Didi Nyoro should be their kingpin and should lead them and be the vice president. And this is also a contributory factor in this region, that they are already satisfied with Gachagua. Why? He had promised them that the moment he steps there, coffee prices will go up, tea prices will go up, and the milk. And they are not seeing that. And now they are putting their interests in the name of Didi Nyoro, whom they say...
Perhaps Mount Kenya probably expected too much.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah, they did.
Because it is said that they are the people who put the current head of state into that seat, and it is written there. So I think they expected more than they can chew. So they are coming to reality that really what they were expecting is not coming forth. Now, the Mount Kenya people, if you don't know, I have lived there most of my time. I learned there and I know what they cherish. These are people who believe in business. And if their business are going down, they will not have time for you because they don't have shamba, they don't have land. They are not like the Nyanza and the Western people where they still have large tracts of land. There is business. So anybody who can fix their business becomes their friend.
Yeah.
But if the deputy president and the president is not fixing their angle of business, then they have no business supporting them.
We talked about the issue of kingpinship.
Yes.
And we have got three gentlemen here. What do you read? I asked this question the same. What do you make of the three gentlemen here?
These are kings of the different regions. The head of state now is the kingpin of Rift Valley. For a while, Gachagua came because he was the kingpin of Mount Kenya, taking over from the former president. So this kingpin is what is the fight here. They want to dissolve the kingpinship, while it can never die a natural death, because in politics, we must always have kingpins. So this is the big fight here, that the Mount Kenya people believe that their aspiration now, they can now divert it to the former president, because the current deputy president is not giving them what they expected. So that is why the former president is there. But from his word that he's meddling, no. He's just trying to make his people feel that really this is what you elected, but they are not delivering on their promises. So that is why I think they have the three people on
Very
that.
good.
Yeah.
That's the interpretation.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what we have here. The three gentlemen, at least you've given me their idea, their perspective. Kalonzo says that they'll soldier on without Raila. Akienda AU. Aenda tu lakini nyumbani tuko sawa. So Raila, former president, vice president, says that the AU top job bid for Raila Odinga will not derail the opposition coalition from the for the goal to check government and offer alternative leadership. This is what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation. This is something that we also want to take a look. And of course, you're also watching us. You see where we have it. You can head over and download the app here, KBC, and get everything that you want. We have got updated stories here for you to take a look, as well as, radio stations. We have got radio services also, business, we have got radio stations, a lot of them. You can go to Google Play, download the app, and you'll watch and listen real time, all the stations in the website. There we have them, all right? And all of them are live on our website as we speak. Tuko sawa? We are good. Mishma, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think I read that Kalonzo was at Kenyatta Market in Langata. I want to correct it.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
That's your constituency?
Yeah, it is not Langata. That is Kibra constituency. And from there, it is written Langata constituency. So it should be corrected that it was in Kibra constituency.
You realize these boundaries can actually be very emotive.
Commercial
has decided to become very territorial.
Because that is my strong base, the political strong base.
You had a guest yesterday. What did you feast on? We all know
of course,
Kenyatta Market is all about.
It was an impromptu. He just went to take lunch. And I think now, because of his stature, the journalists were there and he had to talk something. He went to church at the Baptist, and then from the church He went to Kenyatta to take
so you're blessed.
So,
you're blessed.
Of course, you know that is the bedrock of politics in this country.
You had to say that.
Victor, on that particular headline, I think it's, I don't know why it's necessary for the former vice president to go out and say that we will continue even in his absence. Why he says that, he's actually betraying the very fact that Raila has embodied, the embodiment of opposition and oversight has been the person of Raila. And that a lot of times, even when there are issues...
What of assurance? What of assurance? I mean,
why if they were doing...
Because you see,
let me say this. A lot of times, there are people who say Raila needs to step aside and then allow other people to do work, right? Now, if you actually have to come out, you know, power, as in task and function, if you're looking at power from that particular definition or base, it's like being a woman. If you have to say you are a woman, you are not.
Okay. Okay. I need to fill your cups. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Meanwhile, head over to Google Play and download. This is what we have. KBC Channel 1. Everything that you need here. All right? Go to Google Play, download, and listen to us real time. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with more after this. My name is Victor. Stay with us.
You don't have to explain that you are...
我是怎么挂的？是被渴死的吗？脱水了，身体里的水都干了。毁灭？农场主挂了？这游戏到底要干嘛呀？
什么？跟我进来。壮观吧？这些都是聋子的耳朵。自打他们建成之后，在观测的频段就干扰不断，都跟6月13号晚上发生的一模一样。你和我观测到了宇宙闪烁。教授，难道你不想知道真相吗？啊？
Nilikuwa naonelea next week unipatie ovu nikalime kidogo.
Alikuwa hiyo kitabu, tafadhali utoke uende pole pole.
Tumekaa tukaona sisi hatutaki mchezo. Mambo ya kufanya kazi mchana ilipitwa na wakati. Chana nawe unafanya nini?
Hii mama kaya hii vitu gani hiyo wanafanyia watu?
Mimi ni the new general chief, general organizer, assistant manager.
We. Kwa nini unachukua simu yangu naweka kwa moto matope bwana?
Nisipochunga akili yangu sasa nani ataweza kumanage? Akili yangu itayeyukwa na ninajua.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani. Sisi wakati tulikuwa tunaapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow.
We are the full package.
Oh yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Oya. Auntie akona ka forehead. Akona the mark of quality.
Ameke ram denel am shetan over.
Nataka kumaliza mambo hiyo wedding.
Kwanza geukia kitu kia Patrick sana. Rosi Paul. Umenimaliza kama chai kwa kikombe. Hizi zote zimebaki December, September, October.
Wanaona, ni kama tu nikuje nikwambie uko na kichwa kubwa. Sasa makosa
si au sio? Ndio manake. Okay.
Every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
All right, karibu. These are the three, do I call them musketeers? Do I call them three gentlemen? They're here. Arnold, you're so keen on that. You're getting some point from Weshimi Orero there.
From Mwalimu there.
From Mwalimu there. And Wakili is, focused. Your Honor, very much focused. This is how we do it. Okay, karibu sana to the program. Now, gentlemen, we all know what is happening across the country. And the issue here is this. We started with that one. It's the issue of Raila Odinga to the AU. Let's talk about this one. How is it going to pan out? Let me start with you, Wakili. Let's come back home and talk about Raila's candidature to the AU. East Africa, so to speak, we've never had such a position before. So the first question, what does it really portend to East Africa, not even to Raila Odinga himself?
As a point of correction, Victor, we've been in that position. We've been in that position before. I remember the former head of Comoros was there, and I think even the former head of Tanzania has been there
Kenya,
as well.
Kenya, I mean
yes,
Kenya.
Yes, as in East Africa, we've had one of our own occupying that position. But then, as a country, we've not had the privilege of occupying that the position of chair. For the region, it will be, it's one, like my colleagues have said, locally, politics is local. So once you have one of your own occupying such kind of a position, it comes, of course, it comes with its own goodies.
Yeah.
And we're expecting that with the occupation probable of Raila Amolo Odinga to the position of AU chair, then, it will come with its own goodies within the region that is the East African region, and even as a country. When we come to now the local politics, the exit of Raila Amolo Odinga from active Kenyan politics to his position as the AU chair would automatically mean that there ought to be other people taking up leadership positions, and especially as leaders of the most visible, the most populous party, that is ODM in the country. Of course, there will be the people will now be angling to become the spokespersons of that particular party. And much as my good friend Orero would want to say that the meetings that they are calling for are not meetings that have been brought about by these Raila's bid to the AU, but then I would want to very respectfully submit that yes, it is. When such kind of a thing happens, and for instance, in a home, when a father is exiting, maybe let's say they're going for a sabbatical outside the country, and probably for extended periods of time, you expect that then there will be someone who will be nominated, or there'll be someone who will be given that power and the mandate to take over the the leadership and the running of the family. So the same thing that is going, and it is the same thing that is going to happen to the ODM party and generally the Azimio coalition. Now that the head of that house is angling towards taking up a much more bigger position that requires that they will not engage in active politics, then there must be a succession plan, and I would want to presume that it is because of that then we are having our colleagues from the Azimio coalition now trying to organize their house and just asking themselves in the event that Raila Amolo Odinga exits from active politics, who exactly is going to steer that ship. For me, if you asked me, the second senior-most politician probably, in terms of the principles, then becomes Kalonzo, and I'm not quite shocked that he is now coming out very forcefully to to put his voice and say that in the event that Raila Amolo Odinga leaves, that the house will be in order. He's trying to assure his people that things will be okay. Hey, look here, things will be okay, much as we've had the leadership of Mzee for a very long time. But then even with his exit, though probably temporarily, things will be okay. So he's from the very onset taking up leadership. He's from the very onset assuring his people that worry not, things will be okay, and we are in charge of this. Yes.
Yes.
First of all, I just need to remind Wakili that both the eastern region of Africa and North have never been the chair of the AUC for the last 23 years, or rather ever since the OAU became AU, we in East Africa have never been. West Africa has held it twice, Central Africa twice, South Africa once. But then we in East Africa and North Africa have not done that. A lot of times, of course, we confuse the AU chairperson and the AUC chairperson. A lot of times when people do not want to remember very fast. So the AU chairperson is a honorary position that is given to the heads of state on a rotating basis annually. The AUC, or the Africa Union Commission chairperson, is the legal representative of the AU. He is the CEO. He's the leader of the secretariat. He's appointed for a 4-year term, renewable once. So since OAU in 2002 converted to AU, we have never had an East African or a Northerner hold that particular position. So it feels naturally in the spirit of sharing out that we in the East or the North should actually take over this particular position. So as we look at that, there are so many issues to play around. Normally, candidates go to these as you fill them as blocks. But I'm hoping since the president of Mauritania now, is it Mauritania? Those Mauritania or Mauritius, there's a way we who are British trained have got a problem with T. It should be sh, not T. But then elsewhere it's pronounced differently because a lot of them are actually of French origin, the names. So since that particular president has been appointed the chairperson of the AU, and he is from the North, I hope that for the first time, the AU should actually be open to having, or rather, choosing the AUC chair through consensus. That we in East Africa, now, we have got a Northerner chairing the AU. We in East Africa should be allowed to actually then lead the AUC secretariat. And like I said, the person of Raila Odinga brings in immense experience. He has got the skill sets that would actually befit that particular office. And we, as the region, we even host the headquarters of the AU in this region. We actually, it would be good and fair justice to allow us to actually field a person to come in. What will we do as a country? As a country, definitely, it's important that we back our own. We are not going to repeat the mistakes we did with the Amina's time at some point when she was looking for some international job, and then we dropped the ball along the way. We want to actually talk to our neighbors. Raila has been a long practicing politician, so in one way or the other, his brand of politics might have rattled a little bit of neighbors here, but we want to tell them that once he sits in there, he's a diplomat, he's a full-time diplomat, and Raila can do that very well. He served as the High Representative of Infrastructure for the AU. You've not had any complaints so far. So we will quell those concerns in the region. We also know that Djibouti has got a candidate. We would love to reach out to them and talk to them to allow Raila Odinga here to actually go
why
in.
Why was it important for Kenya Kwanza to support Raila's candidature?
Because
for somebody who doesn't understand.
Why is it important to support Raila Odinga? It is the business of the government of the day to support its people whenever it's outside here. Let us not conflate internal differences with our national interest. The president is the head of state, the leader of the nation, not the leader of Kenya Kwanza. So when Kenya presents, you know, like when our athletes, when our rugby team...
It's now Kenya presenting Raila Odinga.
Raila Odinga is a Kenyan. At this particular level, he's an eminent Kenyan, respected not just regionally and continentally, but also globally. So when Raila puts his best foot forward, it will be foolhardy for any government, whether it is Kenya Kwanza or whatever government will be in office, to fight against that particular bit. Because we exist as a government to further the interest of this particular nation. And, you know, our democracy is noisy. Sometimes you might actually think the house is burning, but that is how we do our housekeeping. Once we go to the international stage, we forget everything. Have you seen countries that have tried to fight us online? We serve them a little fear of God without caring where we come from.
First of all, Kenya must vote if Raila, you know...
Yes, so Kenya has already given, and I'm telling you...
So if he doesn't get that support from home,
he will definitely...
Exactly.
First of all, you are going to... You remember even for... Musa Faki Mahamat, when he was actually coming in. I just like to remind people that he was the greatest critic to the president of Chad then. Don't forget that.
Very good.
And then the AU reached out to the president and asked him if he was okay with it. He said, why not? He is a Chadian like the rest of us.
How is it important, Mheshimiwa? How is it important for Kenya? Raila Odinga being in that position. And we also saw former President Obasanjo here in the country last week.
Yes. Now, one thing is that there is one term that I would wish that we completely obliterate, wipe it out, that is exiting politics of Kenya. I think that term should never be used because even AUC is a political position and it is even a senior political seat. So I talked with the before he left and he was not like he's exiting any political space. And at his age, really, when he was there for infrastructure in EU, we saw how he was doing his job, and at the same time, he was just within the country. And I believe that for Kenya, this is a very prestigious position that we all need to support Raila Amolo Odinga. But I also want to say that his brand of politics, I just want to say, has not injured any of our neighboring countries. I am aware that he talks with all our neighboring heads of state. He talks with the Ugandan head of state, Rwanda head of state, DRC.
Why did you go in that order?
So, and our neighbors Tanzania heads of state. There has been a fallacy, there's been a mistaken notion that maybe they may not support Raila. But I am aware that they closely talk to each other. It's only that our democracy here, as he has said, is noisy. And you might think that we are not eating from the same plate. But as East Africa bloc, I will compare it with the economic blocs in this world. We have ECOWAS, we have COMESA, we have IGAD, we have Brexit. So this is a political East Africa political is a kind of our bloc, East Africa bloc, and we need to go as a unit, just like economic bloc. We need to support our candidate, just all of us, because what it will bring to this region will be very, very immense politically. It is very competitive politically, world over, that some of these positions will sway other countries even to give us support, not just politically, but also economically, because politics is not just about word of mouth. Politics is about looking for resources and looking for resources for your people.
Yeah.
So when he's in this position, he will galvanize support. We will lobby for support so that our country and our region may improve politically. And being who he is, the network that he has all over the world, I think maybe in this region, he has been in that field more than almost anybody else around here. So I feel that going at that position will give us a leeway to and a leverage to get more of the support from the foreign-based countries and even the regional countries. This is something which is good for us. When I look at that statement, there is no panic in ODM, and there is no panic in Azimio la Umoja.
Are you applying the 11th commandment? Are you applying the 11th commandment?
I think these are imaginations of people that we are panicking. We are not panicking. ODM is very, very strong. You can see we have been recruiting. Even before this announcement, our party leader had decided that he's going to recruit members of the ODM, awaiting election in 2 months or so.
Wakili, there is that sense of lobbying. And when he spoke about Uganda, President Museveni and our neighbors in Rwanda, I'll ask him why that particular order. There is that sense of lobbying, and you must talk to your neighbors. You must talk to some of the big boys around. You know, people who are going to be on the ballot.
Yes.
And there is that question of certain countries might not be so comfortable with Raila's candidature. How is it going to work out? Because we all know President William Ruto must also put his voice. As I asked, Obasanjo was here last week. How do you make of all these things put together?
I really doubt, Victor, we are going to get opposition from our neighbors. And just like my colleagues have said, when we get the position, it is not just Kenya that is getting that particular position. It is a position that would be for the, let's say, for the region, if it is the East African community and so on and so forth. So my take would be that it would be important not only for Kenya as a country, but even our brothers Uganda, Tanzania, and the rest of us. I'm very happy that my good friend here says that Kenya Kwanza will solidly, and not just Kenya Kwanza, but then even the leader of Kenya Kwanza, who happens to be the president of the country, is has already given the green light that is going to support the candidature of Raila Amolo Odinga for this particular position. What would be interesting to me actually would be what efforts or what the president and what Kenya as a country what efforts they're going to put in place to ensure that then they deliver the seat. Because for me, it is not just about Raila's candidature, but then it is the candidature of a person that is a Kenyan citizen, that is a citizen of East Africa, who's expressed the interest to go for the seat. And as we all agree on this particular table, that Raila is best suited to take over that position. So I would want to see the efforts that we as a country are going to put in to ensure that Raila gets the seat. I would want to see the efforts that the East African community region is going to put in place to ensure that the seat comes back home. So it is an interesting few days to come, considering the fact that this seat is, if Raila is to take the seat, it's supposed to start working in February of next year. Yes. So if it will be an interesting, few months to come to see how much effort the country we are going to put in, and even the region.
So, Victor.
Yes, go ahead.
Let me begin with where Mwalimu raised an issue about Raila exiting the political scene, and he seems quite uncomfortable with that particular line of speech. Let me put this on record, that God willing, if we win this particular seat, the AUC chairship, Raila turns 80 next year on 7th of January. He normally turns over on 7th of every January. So he will be 80 years. As an individual now, let me speak as an individual on this particular issue. I think that Raila, if he were to get this particular job, it would be, for me, a dignified way of him exiting the political stage with honor. He's put in a very good fight. That in the 80s, when we had, when Africa was just coming post-independence, settling, and they were fighting against pressures from the new black people. Raila was among the people who stood up and fought for it. In the 90s, when we wanted an extended democratic space, Raila was there and fought it. When we got into political dispensation of politics in the year 2000 and above, Raila was there fighting for us. So he's done good work.
Yeah.
And every dancer must know when to exit the stage. I know for Mwalimu that might actually spell doom. And there is, of course, that's why then you get that there is apprehension. That Mwalimu took time to actually take issue with the word exiting, speaks to the apprehension on that particular end. I said earlier on that there are the people who might not have the candor, the qualities that Mwalimu has. And I started by saying, if you remember my first submission, I said that we will see more of Mwalimu's level of people coming up from some of those regions, because there is a pedigree of leaders from those particular shows whose only qualification is to say tunaenda kusaidia Baba. There are other people who will not survive sunset if Baba withdrew his candidature and support. So I know Mwalimu must actually show up for ODM and Azimio. But this is the truth, that there are also other people. Let me also even speak from our side. There are other people from this particular end who's made a career by scaring people, by turning Raila into a scarecrow. So there are other people on the other side who think, whose only qualification to leadership has been supporting Baba.
In other words, you want Raila to exit local politics.
I'm not saying that I want him to exit, but I'm just telling you that this is a demographic imperative.
Yes.
That a time comes when even the best of dancers have to exit the stage. And I'm thinking that the AUC chairmanship for Raila Odinga is the honorable way for him to exit the stage. And for me, if Baba is living in that particular way, he's going out the Alexander the Great way, that whoever is strong amongst you, let him come and take over the throne.
Rishima, you're not so happy about that statement. He's still repeated what you said, exiting, and he said it almost.
Well, I had not used that word, but I saw him pick it with the newspaper.
You know,
he's mentioned that word 8 times.
Being a teacher in class, sometimes some students don't take cue very fast. So you could fall among those students in class that when you are told this is no goes on, then you still go back. So I forgive me.
Yes.
But in any case, I believe that as a country, you realize that since he announced this kind of position, every day, all the newspapers are on Raila. So it means that Raila himself is an institution, not just political institution. He is also a democratic institution. He is an enigma. He is octogenarian. You know, all these qualities are for Raila. Yeah. And some have ulterior motives to wish him well to go. Some are genuine. Some believe that when he gets this job, then he will create a political space for them to operate without any hindrance. But you know, this country is for all of us. And I think it is for the interest of this country that we get this job and see how it helps us to grow as the East Africa bloc. Because this, we are bidding as a bloc. We are bidding because we have never had this for the last 23 years.
How is it going to affect Azimio, as a member of Azimio, or bring it down home to ODM, if he happens to clinch that position? How is it that position going to
Victor, as you do that, please, I would love him to also respond to this. The chairperson of Azimio party is Uhuru Kenyatta. Everybody else has actually congratulated and welcomed Raila's aspiration and candidature. Why has the Azimio party leader, who is Uhuru Kenyatta, not lend his voice to Raila's candidature? I think the country deserves to know this.
That one I will respond instantly. That you have just said that Uhuru Kenyatta has been meddling, and you wish that he never meddles.
No, this is Raila Odinga. He stood in Central. I said he's a meddler in Central.
And now, it's like this: you are being a turncoat.
No.
Uhuru never speaks.
Context. Context.
Let me say this: for all the years that he has been a president of this country, we all know that he's a laid-back president.
Not true.
And most of the time, he is always the last to speak on issues. But will send his soldiers like Kioni. Kioni was there. Kioni is the Secretary General of Jubilee and will always express the opinion of the Jubilee as a party.
Obasanjo, a president of Nigeria, former president of Nigeria, has come to support Baba. Uhuru Kenyatta, the immediate president of Kenya, and the party leader, he's refused to relinquish that. Even the constitution says, the law says that once you've been a president, you relinquish being a party leader 6 months after election. The party leader, that is a question you are running away from, Mwalimu, and you teach us how to be straightforward. Why has your party leader, I'm now talking about the bigger house that is Azimio, why? And yesterday, he spoke in other places, but he did not talk about Raila's candidature. He even spoke about mundane local things, but he did not speak about something that is important and has grasped the attention of the nation. Why has Uhuru Kenyatta not said that? Is he a candidate?
You see, there are certain political lines that you might not take as a politician. There are certain pronouncements that may dent the career of somebody when you get involved. You cannot carry somebody's emotions. And this is what I'm saying. There are things that we might not be able to say, because in politics, it is about individuals and it is about emotions. And sometimes it could be a strategy. You never know. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the former president. It could be a laid strategy, because we are aware that these people, they speak on a daily basis. The former president would speak to Raila on a daily basis. So what makes him not speak on this, I would not make it an issue. It is not an issue, because as a coalition, the coalition has responded. The former president, even as a coalition, even as a chairman, I remember he has only attended our meetings.
I'm told you're running
three times.
Victor, can I just allow me just once? Just a question.
He has only attended.
I will not contribute. A question.
Our meetings
Just a question on it.
times.
It's important.
Three
Victor.
times.
You're all out
Victor,
of order.
Victor,
So
just a question, kindly. It will be important that we put this. Mwalimu helps us. You realize that Mwalimu, for the first time, he's been very articulate and straight. On this one, he's gotten very vague. I want to ask it again. Mwalimu, you are in Azimio. Is Uhuru Kenyatta Museveni's candidate? Was Uhuru Kenyatta to declare his candidature for the AUC chairmanship yesterday?
I think
we don't know.
No, I asked. He comes from Azimio,
That one I
and
don't
Chinua
know.
Achebe will tell you.
Is he going to declare?
I'm guessing because up to now, the noises we are hearing from Central would have been
we are running out of time. The president,
he would actually have supported Raila yesterday.
Wakili,
Yes.
the president is going to Naivasha today.
Yes.
I know Arnold is so passionate about this, but to take stock of what's happening in his government. 20 seconds, kindly. My director is already on the floor.
Okay, no problem. I would want to believe, because they are going to have the PG, and then thereafter they are going to have these other subsequent meeting. I would want to believe that it is part of their housekeeping.
Yes.
And considering that now Parliament has resumed its its sessions, just to chart the way forward in terms of its agenda within the assembly and even the country at large, and also stock keeping. So it is not anything out of the ordinary. I would want to presume that it's just their normal order of business. I wouldn't really want to read so much out of it. It is important that for any leadership, and especially political as it were in the country right now, that as Parliament resumes, the foot soldiers that are in Parliament are given a very clear direction as to what exactly do they, does the Kenya Kwanza Alliance want to see things go. You remember in the months back, we've had so many of government projects being shot down by the judiciary. So I think it's just in the fullness of time, Kenya Kwanza wants to put its house in order. So there's nothing so much out of the ordinary.
Allow me to do this for all of you. We'll have more time and discuss more of this probably once we've had that PG and outcome. Adol Malipa promised me to give me another show once that PG is done. kindly.
I'm always at your,
thank you so much.
At your
Asante
mercy.
sana. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for coming on the show. And you as a viewer, I'm sorry, we've run out of time, but it's always sweet.
You have not given us time to say hi to Kibra people.
Okay. Okay, say hi. Say hi. Otherwise, we know what might befall us.
You know, when I'm here and I don't say hi to my constituents,
you'll be thrown out.
I will be thrown out.
Please
so I serve at their pleasure.
Go ahead.
I want to thank them for giving me the opportunity to serve them and take care of their interests in this nation. I always believe that Kibra is the bedrock of politics in this country. Thank you very much. And all the viewers, I want to thank the KBC for inviting us for such kind of a good debate about the state of the nation. And I'm always available to come back.
I have got somebody to also say hi to. Who? The Kenya Kwanza voters. I just want to tell them out there that if it were not for them, this country would be in a very bad place. Thank you, Kenya Kwanza. Thank you, UDA, for voting. Otherwise, this country.
Please go ahead and download the app. This is the app that you need to watch. If you want to watch KBC, please go ahead and download the app on Google Play Store, and you'll get everything as it happens here. This is all we have. Thank you so much for watching. Arnold Maliba, Director, Advisor, UDA Communications, as well as Wakili Bika Shoya and Mheshimiwa Peter Orero of Kibra constituency. Asante sana, gentlemen, for coming to the show. As a viewer, thank you for watching. Good morning. My name is Mutulu. Bye-bye.
You'll never have her again. Don't underestimate me.
What was that woman doing here? Let him into the garden so that your father wouldn't notice him. Well, it's all right. It's only natural that he wants to see Nora. No, but Rodrigo doesn't want to see your sister. He wants to see you. No.
Marcelo Escalante has a very complicated life. Why do you want to have more problems? Well, problems mean nothing to me. You'd better start to forget about that man. Do you understand?
You should have considered it before coming back here, would you say?
But whether you like it or not, this is also my house. Therefore, I'm staying right here.
Well, I'm terribly sorry for you. I demand you to tell me the kind of relationship that you have with Marcelo. Answer us.
Nilikuwa naonelea next week unipatie hapo nikalime kidogo.
Alikuwa hiyo kitabu, tafadhali utoke uende pole pole.
Tumekaa tukaona sisi hatutaki mchezo. Mambo ya kufanya kazi mchana ilipitwa na wakati. Mchana nawe unafanya nini?
Hii mama kaya hii vitu gani hiyo wanafanyia watu?
Mimi ni the new general chief, general organizer, assistant manager.
We. Kwa nini unachukua simu yangu naweka kwa moto matope bwana?
Nisipochunga akili yangu sasa nani ataweza kumanage? Akili yangu itayeyukwa na ninajua.
Itakuaje? Oya.
Auntie akona ka forehead. Akona the mark of quality.
Ameke wrong denel mshetani over.
Nataka kumaliza mambo hiyo wedding.
Kwanza kiongea kitu kia Patrick sana. Rosi Paul. Umenimaliza kama chai kwa kikombe.
Zote zimebaki December, September, October.
Wanaona, I know my life wala.
Ni kama tu nikuje nikwambie uko na kichwa kubwa. Sasa makosa si
au sio? Ndio manake. Okay.
Every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on KBC Channel 1.
Baby, when we first met, I never felt something so strong. And you were like my lover. Cause you only need the light when it's burning low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Make me lie when I
did, Alonso.
I heard this peasant when he was saying very clearly that it was hard to forget what happened between the two of you. Nothing happened or nothing will ever happen.
This is Melena's earring, and you will explain to me what the heck Melena's earring is doing in your house and exactly how it got here. Can't I go out to the garden?
I didn't say that.
They made you believe something that wasn't true to hurt me. Let me take a wild guess who did it. Fabiola.
You'll never have her again. Don't underestimate me.
What was that woman doing here? Let him into the garden so that your father wouldn't notice him. Well, it's all right. It's only natural that he wants to see Nora. No, but Rodrigo doesn't want to see your sister. He wants to see you. No.
Marcelo Escalante has a very complicated life. Why do you want to have more problems? Well, problems mean nothing to me. You'd better start to forget about that man. Do you understand?
You should have considered it before coming back here, would you say?
But whether you like it or not, this is also my house. Therefore, I'm staying right here.
Well, I'm terribly sorry for you.
I demand you to tell me the kind of relationship that you have with Marcelo.
Answer us.
Are you a talented artist? Or are you passionate about a topic you want to discuss? But money can be very hard to find for an upcoming artist. Don't worry, Studio Mashinani has got your back. Sign up on ajira.co.ke to book a session with your music and video producers across the country. Work on your music, jingles, spoken words, and even podcasts to realize your dream. All for free. Studio Mashinani, Radani Talent.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. How are you doing? This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwe, and now we get to a whole different conversation. And the world has become a global place thanks to technological innovations, and there's also the emergence of digital currency. Currently, Kenya has about 2.7 to 4 million cryptocurrency holders right now, which makes it even more important to talk about this topic. Today we are going to discuss digital currency risks and regulations in Kenya, and in studio to help me with this conversation is none other than Sewe Wycliffe, who is the cryptocurrency investigator and compliance specialist and at A&D Forensics. And also on my immediate left is Adedeji Owonibi, who is a blockchain forensic investigator and senior partner at A&D Forensics. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming to the show. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Let's get into it. And one of the things I would want you to tell me, or to tell the person who is watching right now, what is the difference between cryptocurrency and forex trading? Let me start with you, Wycliffe.
Wow. So thank you so much.
Yes.
And allow me just to touch on the difference, because so many people usually confuse about forex trading and cryptocurrency trading.
Yes.
And when someone is participating in forex trading, forex basically means changing one currency to another currency. That is a country's currency. For example, in Kenya, we normally use the Kenya shillings.
Yes.
So we are participating in a company's share. Now, when you come to the digital currencies, remember now these are this is now digital money, which gets transacted through electronic format. Now, in the digital currency arena, it's subdivided into 3 categories, where we have got what are known as the central bank digital currencies, the ones which are now under the scrutiny and management of central banks of government. And then we have cryptocurrency now, which is also called virtual currency, which works under technology which is called the blockchain, which is a distributed ledger technology. Basically, that means it's decentralized and there is no any central authority which governs it. Then now we have what is called the stable coin under the digital currencies. Now with the stable coin, their value is pegged on physical money, or their value is pegged on an asset. That's now what makes the difference between forex trading and cryptocurrency. Yeah.
Now, somebody who might be using M-Pesa today, and this is directed to Deji, somebody who is using M-Pesa today may say, I'm operating my money online, digitally, because I'm using a phone to pay for a service or do something else. Is it the same as using cryptocurrency? What is the major difference?
Okay, thank you very much. So the major difference is just like my colleagues have explained. So what you have within the M-Pesa is simply Kenyan sovereign money, which is the Kenyan shilling that is held in the bank, that is just represented to you digitally on your M-Pesa wallet. So this is still the fiat money we talk about. But the digital currency that we're talking about is those currencies, like he classified it, that are not centrally governed. Of course, the Kenyan shilling is centrally governed by the Kenyan government. And so the digital currency is actually the currency that is online, digital native. So when I mean digital native, that is the origin of it. It's not like the M-Pesa that takes the Kenyan shilling to put it in the digital format. This one has no any other resident, if I may put it like that. It emanated from the computer age. And many things have gone online since the internet explosion. So you stay in your house, you Google anything, and now when you ask people questions, they are shocked because they think you can simply just Google it, because we have an explosion of information. But one single thing that have not gone online is actually money. So you cannot just touch anything and just send money the way we're getting information. And that is not possible with Kenyan shilling. That is not possible with South African rand or pounds or all that, because they are enclosed and controlled by the individual government, right? But this money, that we talk about came into the internet to allow seamless transfer. The way you get information, money is going to work like that, at a click of button. And why, you may ask, a lot of people ask, why did it take this long to have money? If you say they are coming with the internet explosion, the simple reason is that anything digitally I send to you, I still maintain a copy. So if you take a photo of if I take a photo with my phone, and I send it to you, I still retain a copy of my photo on my phone. So money cannot work like that. So that's why money is taking a backseat to go to the internet. Because if I send you money and you still have it, it does not make any sense, because you double spend. So I can buy a car from you, and I go again to buy a house because I have a copy of it. So it can work like that. And that is why money took longer time to get online. But now, since 2009, with a pseudonymous individual, whether a group of person or an individual was able to break that double spending problem. And that took money to the internet, which is now the digital money we talk about. So it resides there. And so you don't need to have any, maybe bank account anywhere. All you need is a wallet. And the same way you get information, you can actually transact money like that, like you're sending email. And that is the era we're in now. So the whole world is struggling to understand it, but that is the natural next move for money. And so countries are learning about it. Central banks around the world are learning about it. Law enforcement around the world are learning about it, because, again, you understand that when there's a new technology, criminals moving very fast to take advantage. And so you don't see law enforcement there. You don't see tax regulators there. So they just take the backseat and do a catch-up later. And that is what is happening now. And that is why we think we need to sensitize a lot of people. But it's not the same with M-Pesa, with this extradition.
It's not the same with M-Pesa. Now, Wycliffe, how can use of cryptocurrency and digital currencies be used to curtail money laundering and tax evasion?
Okay. Allow me to probably share an analogy.
Yes.
You see, in the animal kingdom, let's say when an eagle is hunting, and when an eagle spots a fish, you'll actually collect the fish from the water, and then you will take the fish up in the sky, knowing that when the fish is up in the sky, the fish becomes vulnerable and cannot be able to defend itself. The same thing also happens with the crocodile. When the crocodile wants to probably do an attack, you will ensure that you come to the territory where it can be able to control you. And it's the same thing now in the world of cryptocurrency. And that's why you'll see majority of the criminals are basically taking advantage of it simply because they know that people are still green in this area. And that's why you'll see anytime maybe a bad actor or a criminal decides to commit a crime, he will basically take you to the cryptocurrency space, knowing that you don't actually understand what is happening there. And that's why it's becoming so easy for the bad actors to start participating in things like terrorism financing, start participating in things like money laundering. And that's why today we are actually now letting guys, for those who basically think that if crime has happened, let's say the criminal has taken your money and he has converted it into cryptocurrency, for us, we are basically telling you it is now actually possible to know where exactly your money is. And that's why we normally have got some of the technological tools which we are working in hand with the law enforcement, together with the lawyers, together with the banks, so that at least from there the law enforcement can be able now to even investigate and be able to trace and monitor such kind of transactions. Initially in the past it was so difficult and people used to give up knowing that once their money has been converted into crypto, they knew that that's a done deal. But now, with the increasing rise of technology, we are basically letting the law enforcement, it's now one of the most easiest, crime to trace and monitor.
Yes. Now, Deji, when we talk about digital currencies, the aspect of risks cannot be ignored. What are the risks that are involved in this, in the digital currency space?
Thank you very much. I think my colleague did some justice to that, right? And I used to say, because it's new, the criminals have taken the first movers advantage. As a matter of fact, why there's a confusion that when you mention cryptocurrency, people just believe it's money for criminals, and simple. They just stop there. And why do they have to say that? They're possibly not too wrong. The innovation is great and fantastic, but the first users are actually criminals that used it. So earlier, when it came up, criminals just felt, oh, want to buy drugs, want to sell drugs, want to sell credit card and hacking tools within darknet market. So it's a marketplace where law enforcement is difficult to go there. It's a part of an internet where you're browsing with your phone, with your laptop, you cannot go there. So we call it a darknet. It's the darkest side of the internet. But what happens there is that you can actually go there and get, if I want you dead, and I'm not saying I want you dead, but if I want somebody to take you down, I go to the darknet market and I simply pay with cryptocurrency, and only for you to see when you're driving home, somebody takes you down. The deal has been done within the darknet market. And so for cyber criminals that are hacking people's credit cards, they go to the darknet market to sell it to some other people. So they tell you, oh, I've got Wycliffe's credit card that has $10,000 in it. Can you buy it for $1,000 in the darknet market? So I buy it from the darknet market. I go spend $10,000 using just $1,000 to the guy that don't want himself traced. So that marketplace is called Silk Road in the US then. And it was the most popular thing that the cyber criminals felt, oh, there's a new money in town, and I think we can use this new money to propagate our trade within the darknet market. And it became so great within few months of starting it. And the young man that started it, made a lot of billions of dollars and all that. And the law enforcement just believed that, oh, there's a new money, we need to up our game. So they have no idea how to go about that, how to investigate that. But I think the FBI team did a very decent job. And this is, I'm talking about 2012, back 2012, 2013. They did a very great job, and that is the reason why we're even seated here, because the idea why people go into cryptocurrency is that it's a money that cannot be traced. It's a money that nobody sees you, and when you have it, you're off from law enforcement, from paying tax and all that. That is the initial understanding of criminals. But they were able to go in and see it and begin to, so because you don't have an account number, so if you, M-Pesa, you have your phone number, And that phone number is registered with your name.
Yes.
So anything you do, all we need to do is pick up your phone number, and the telecommunication industry can trace who have this.
Yes.
But in the blockchain world, there's no actual name attached to anything. The address is alphanumeric. And when I say alphanumeric, it's a combination of numbers and letters and very long string. And so you cannot say if it's Sewe that is touching this or who. So, but what they're able to do is to begin to put what we call personal identifiable information to attach to that wallet. So I don't know who this is, but I can see one email address attached to this. And who owns this email address, which computer is using this with the IP address. So a lot of layers, when you begin to you bundle them together and can say, oh, this is Sewe doing this in this darknet market. And so that shows that that was the beginning of understanding that, okay, law enforcement can actually trace activities down. So they did that. They confiscated a lot of those digital assets. At that time, they were able to seize about 144,000 Bitcoin within those platforms. And today, Bitcoin is about 51,000 US dollars for one. So when you do the numbers, that will tell you that cyber criminals don't even want to just touch Kenyan shilling or just normal money, because that is a bigger money for each one. So for each one, you are having $52,000 as at this morning when I check it. So meaning when you convert one Bitcoin, you have 52,000 wallets seated in your bank account or maybe your M-Pesa or wherever. So you are now a big boy that you don't listen to people within your area because you're so much big and people don't go to that side. And so that is why those risks are critical. So that is just the risks about the darknet market. The second one is that when terrorists want to attack, they know that countries have got sophisticated ways to stop them. So when any money goes into any bank account and it has connection with terror financing, the intelligence agency will shut that down, because within the banking sector, they have visibility. So what terrorists have chosen to do is simply to move out from the banking sector, from the traditional finance sector, and they move on to fund themselves with cryptocurrency. So if you want to send any amount, maybe say millions of Kenyan shilling to maybe Al-Shabaab, you don't need to go to the banks. All you need to do is send them cryptocurrency and they will do the damage they normally do. That's a big risk to the country. And that is why law enforcement have to now step in to be able to check if this is sent to them. So I had a privilege to speak to the Nigerian Army Cyber Warfare Command. So that command is a full command that is commanded by the brigadier. And that command, what they're supposed to do is to sit down on daily basis with their computers. They are hackers for good. So they are hacking for the country, and they are stopping bad actors that are using internet to enter or maybe to bring down government systems. So they are, if you may, they are protecting the territorial integrity of the country, not physically carrying gun, but using computer to stop bad actors. And I went to speak with them, young guys, captain majors with their computers, good computer scientists, and I asked them, today, if you want to say you want to cut off the terror financing channel, where do you look at? And all of them answered. They have their intelligence within the banks, and so they're looking different segment. And I tell them, do you know? Because again, we have a lot of terror within the Sahel region. And I said, do you know you can send cryptocurrency to these terrorists and they buy different weapons and they continue to attack? And so if you're not protecting our territorial integrity with digital asset to stop the bad actors from using that kind of money, that's a big thing. So that's another risk, right? Terror financing. Money launderers, so for a lot of people that possibly, maybe they will hack banks. When they have bank, they have so much million within their coffers. So what they do is to quickly go to cryptocurrency exchanges and change this money to digital asset. And tomorrow, within minutes, you can see that money in US or Canada. And they have laundered the money. And so here we are looking to see the banks. We tell you don't move more than 10,000 Kenyan shilling. I mean, $10,000 at the airport. They will tell you how much are you holding. A customer is stopping you. You have up to $10,000. You get to declare it. That is outdated because the normal criminal does not carry those dollars to cross a border. He just have it in his wallet and he can make billions of US dollars across the shores. So meaning money laundering is a critical risk that the government have to be able to see how they can mitigate this, right? And it goes on and on, including scams, because people don't understand what is happening. So like I was showing you backstage, where we saw somebody promising 400% return. It does not make sense. But again, because we are greedy human beings, we want people to tell us, bring me your Kenyan shilling, I'm going to make you 400%. And I ask, if you're making me 400%, what is the common normal fixed deposit rate in your banking sector, and that is where your common sense will begin to take. Today, I see about 13%, 15%.
Yeah.
So if you're promising me 20% for a cryptocurrency investment, maybe it makes sense because you have maybe 5% more above the normal market rate, and it's understandable because the higher the risk, the higher the return. So cryptocurrency will be risky, so you can get maybe faster return.
Yeah.
But when somebody begins to tell you 400%, even 30% should begin to say, hey, how are you going to make it? Where are you going to be doing your trade? Is it all within the same ecosystem?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of risks that I think that is the reason we're educating the viewers to make sure that they're able to check and see what really happened. Of course, the scam that is happening, it's not only the viewers that need to educate themselves. The government have got a big responsibility to educate its citizens. And I'll give you an example with American equivalent of the CMA. They called it the US SEC, which is the SEC. So what they did when they discovered that the scam is becoming prevalent and their citizens are falling prey, they simply created a website and promised the same thing the criminals are promising. So when their citizens come there to pick it, what they get is a report to say this is a scam, and that is how you can be scammed. This is created by CMA, for example. Yeah. And so make sure you educate yourself, look out for these red flags, and a whole lot of things. So maybe that's a style that the CMA can also adopt to educate the investing populace within Kenya.
Yes. When we come back, we'll be talking about the role of training, especially when it comes to law enforcement in enhancing these regulations on cryptos. But we'll do that after we come from this short break. Thank you.
You'll never have her again. Don't underestimate me.
What was that woman doing here?
Let him into the garden so that your father wouldn't notice him.
Well, it's all right. It's only natural that he wants to see Nora.
No, but Rodrigo doesn't want to see your sister. He wants to see you.
No. Marcelo Escalante has a very complicated life. Why do you want to have more problems? Well, problems mean nothing to me. You'd better start to forget about that man. Do you understand?
You should have considered it before coming back here, would you say?
But whether you like it or not, this is also my house. Therefore, I'm staying right here.
Well, I'm terribly sorry for you. I demand you to tell me the kind of relationship that you have with Marcelo. Answer us.
Nilikuwa naonelea next week unipatie hapo nikalime kidogo.
Alikuwa hiyo kitabu, tafadhali utoke uende pole pole.
Tumekaa tukaona sisi hatutaki mchezo. Mambo ya kufanya kazi mchana ilipitwa na wakati. Chana naye unafanya nini?
Hii mama kaya hii vitu gani hiyo wanafanyia watu?
Mimi ni the new general chief, general organizer, assistant manager.
We. Kwa nini unachukua simu yangu naweka kwa moto matope bwana?
Nisipochunga akili yangu sasa nani ataweza kumanage? Akili yangu itayeyukwa na ninajua.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out. Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevakishwa. Sile wakati tulikuwa tunapishwa tunapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow.
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. My name is Mike Megu, and conversation is about digital currency, risks and regulations in the country. And before we went on a break, I was telling Wycliffe about the role of training, especially when it comes to law enforcement. What is the role of training? Because we want to have a situation where a person who wants to invest in cryptocurrency will feel safe to invest.
Sure. And education really plays a very important role.
Yes.
And when my colleague was basically sharing on some of the scams and schemes which are involved in the crypto space,
yes,
you will be surprised that majority of the Kenyans actually end up falling into these traps. 3 weeks ago, I had an opportunity to be invited in one of the business presentations.
Yes.
And when through the presentation, when it was happening, I could easily spot some of the red flags. And by the time when the presentation was done, I basically just asked my friend, how comes the people who are full in this all could not be able to pinpoint some of these red flags? Through that, then I noted that there is a gap, knowledge gap. Because when you look at even the statistics, when we were starting, you mentioned about over 2.8 million Kenyans currently using cryptocurrencies. And maybe just to take you a little bit back further, in 2020, there is a report which was actually published. And Kenya did over 6.4 billion worth of crypto transactions.
Wow.
So you can imagine all this is happening. And if our law enforcement are not empowered, if our law enforcement are not given that much needed education, then at the end of the day, majority of the citizens will end up suffering in the hands of scammers.
Yes.
And that's why we are basically advocating for more training to our law enforcement officers. And that's why also we are basically showing them how to navigate and use the tools, the technological tools which we have, so that they can be able to track, monitor whatever is currently happening in the crypto space. Because for you to fight all these scams, for you to fight all these vices, you need to understand what cryptocurrency really is and how these transactions happen. Because if there is a lag of that understanding, then criminals will basically be taking that advantage, knowing that, yes, at the end of the day, we're going to scam, but there is no law enforcement which will follow us simply because they absolutely know anything that happens in the crypto space. And that's why right now we are collaborating closely with the law enforcement, letting them know this is exactly what you need to do, and this is what you need to understand, how cryptocurrency basically works and how transactions happen in that space. The same awareness, we are also giving it to the community as well, so that they can be able to spot some of these red flags. When my colleague mentioned that you find somebody who just promises you something which is non-reasonable, 400% return, something which is not feasible, it's not something that can be long-lasting. So the community also needs to be educated so that they get to understand whenever we come across such kind of presentation, or whenever we come across such kind of things, we already know this is a direct scam. The same also goes to the accountants. The other day I was just reading an article and someone just mentioned, with the accountants for today, they basically need to understand if billions of transactions are being conducted in the crypto space, how are they positioned to account for it? If this is the amount of money which is basically moving. So which means, even for them, they really need to be up to date with whatever is basically happening so that they'll be able to account for all this money which is being transacted and also be able to protect most of the organizations from some of the cryptocurrency risks.
Yes. You've mentioned something about red flags, and one of the things that Deji pointed out is such things like you're being promised easy money, easy way.
Yes.
What are some of the other red flags that people need to look out for?
Yeah, some of the potential red flags people can also be aware about is because there is one thing which is called ICO. ICO in full is called the initial coin offering. It happens a lot in the crypto space. And to probably just explain it in a layman's language, when a company sets up their structures, we normally have these companies which normally go out to the public and request them if they can buy shares in a scheme which is basically known as the IPO, initial public offering. But you see now with that one, the company is already in existence and the infrastructures are already in place. But when you come to the cryptocurrency area, the initial coin offering, remember this cryptocurrency has not yet started operating into the market. You will find now some of the drivers behind this ICO or initial coin offering. They usually come out, tell you guys, we want you to buy this ICO in plenty. Then once we start operating into the market, you'll be able to be the beneficiaries, all right? So you'll find majority of the people, number one, they don't know how ICOs operates. They don't know what exactly you're supposed to look at or read. And in a cryptocurrency space, we normally have what is called the white paper. The white paper basically is a document which details some of the use cases or the use cases of that particular cryptocurrency. Apart from having all this, they basically need to seek advice from a professional who will be able to tell them, guys, you see, having seen this type of an ICO, what I can clearly tell you guys is that this is a scam. So they need to be aware of the ICOs which are currently happening in space. And in Kenya, to be honest, there is lots and lots of ICOs currently happening. All right? So those are some of the things which a majority of the citizens or majority of the populations need to be basically aware about as well. Yes.
Deji, I'd love to know if, let's say, for instance, the Asset Recovery Agency decided to seize crypto. How do they do it and where do they store it?
That's very technical questions for the asset recovery, because again, everybody is learning it. So, but it's very critical, and I think countries are putting in place all modalities to make sure that happens. So, you know, it's sounding as if it's very far away, but I can tell you for free that it's already here.
It's already here.
Yeah, it's already here. So, for example, in Nigeria, millions of dollars are confiscated in the hands of criminals. And that is because we took our time to train all the law enforcement agencies. We train all the anti-corruption agencies, the economics and financial crimes, the intelligence units. We train them all and to make sure that, look, this is not a big deal. It's something you can investigate. It's something you can actually seize and confiscate. And then when this is done, it gives a second layer of problem, which you just asked. How is it going to be stored?
Yes.
How is it going to be custodied?
Yes.
And so asset recovery today, as it stands, if a criminal steals the money from somewhere, maybe from a corruption, maybe from bank, when the law enforcement arrest him, they seize the houses and they pass it to the asset recovery unit to keep until everything is done. So this cryptocurrency that is not physical, and how do you seize it, and how do you confiscate it, how do you custody it?
Exactly.
This is a new field entirely that we're talking about. So again, it's great. There's nothing that is happening that is not happening in other places in the world already. So it's easier to learn. So like in the United States, confiscate a lot. In the UK, they confiscate a lot. In Nigeria, that I told you, they confiscate. And I believe here, I think they should be seizing also, because I can't believe that Kenya is not arresting people that have criminal connection. So what happens now, whatever crime criminals commit and they are arrested, you find somehow almost 90% chances that it will be connected with cryptocurrency. They will move it somehow. So it's a complete investigation that needs to happen. So again, I would say the asset recovery need training. So the country has to have what we call a national wallet for confiscated digital asset, which will be managed by the asset recovery agency, and that we be able to receive them. But in receiving them, there are also a lot of risk. Who received it, who keep the keys, how many people have to see it, so that it doesn't just move to one individual that understands the value and he also get corrupt at the end of the day. And this is what we have seen across the world. We were sharing one yesterday. He's a law enforcement agent, I think in Germany or Belgium, and he was sent in to actually investigate cryptocurrency that is related with darknet market. And he confiscated a lot of money, and understanding that his organization as a whole don't understand it properly, he decided to put it in his own wallet and begin to spend. And so it's another risk that the asset recovery agency have to look at. And this has been recurring. Yes. So like I told you about the FBI, so there are 2 guys that are still in jail, the FBI guys that went to investigate that, yes, because it is very new. They saw a lot of dollars playing in that darknet market. They also took it for themselves. So that means there have to be a way to actually custody it, and whoever is custodying it is also under watch as a country. Yeah. But again, you have to have a national asset recovery, which has to be a digital asset recovery and custody framework.
Yes. Wycliffe, I'd love to know, what is the role of banks when regulations come in as far as cryptocurrency world is concerned?
Yeah. Actually, banks really play a very key, important role. Yes, in terms of facilitating transactions which are happening. Banks can actually be used as an on-ramp. On-ramp basically means where someone can purchase their cryptocurrency, converting them from the KES to crypto. So banks really, they also need to be aware of what basically is happening in the cryptocurrency space, so that they can also remain compliant. Because remember, again, at the end of the day, if these criminals, once they have, let's say, stolen all these cryptos, you see, you cannot spend that crypto. You need to convert it, all right? And some of the institutions which these people normally use to convert their crypto, let's say, into now a usable KES, banks also comes in place. And that's why I'm really in support of the current happening with the Virtual Assets Service Providers Bill, which currently is being worked on by the Blockchain Association of Kenya. The other day, the other day we saw they published how that document looks like, and we are basically now waiting for the parliament to start debating and discussing much about it, because banks, at the end of the day, they will be, in one way or another, participate in these transactions. And that's why it's important for them to know and understand and how to remain compliant with the crypto assets.
Yes.
Yes.
Deji, I'd love to know, is taxation the same for cryptocurrency or digital currencies the same as the traditional investment?
So I would say it's the same, but there are some new layer, as you may, new happenings within the cryptocurrency ecosystem that is not captured by the relevant, current relevant tax laws. But I argue, again, I'm a qualified CPA, and I tell my colleagues, I said, if you continue to look at money, or you continue to get trained to account for money the way it was done yesterday, you simply rob all the CPAs the chance to participate in the finances of the future. So how to account for cryptocurrency is clear. You have to know what is the International Financial Reporting Standard talking about digital assets, how are they supposed to be accounted for, like my colleague talked about, and how are they taxed? You know, so what are the taxable events that will arise from the using of cryptocurrency? And I had a lot of sessions with CPAs to say, these are the ways that cryptocurrencies can be taxed. So cryptocurrencies today are used for virtually everything you think of. So, and it's simple. If you use it to pay for salaries, So personal income tax will be due, irrespective of the fact that you work or whatever money you use. Personal income tax will be due. If your company received them as payment, which they do, which most companies do today because it's easier. If you have your client in America, in anywhere in the world, if he wants to pay you, normally now there's option. Do you want me to pay through the bank, or you want me to send you digital asset using stablecoin? Stablecoin is the blockchain version of dollar or Kenyan shilling that will eventually come, or whichever money. And when you do that at that button, it comes to you directly without wasting time. So when you do that as a company and you're receiving that, when you finish your corporate income tax at the end of the year, then profit tax are due for the revenue agency.
Yes.
So a lot of taxes are actually due on those.
Okay, finally, where can people find you?
All right. We are located in First Parklands Avenue, that is off Limuru Road, Workstyle Africa, 3rd floor. That is where you can actually find us. Also, from our website, A&D Forensics, you can be able to acquire our details from there as well, and we'll be able now to communicate from there.
All right. Thank you for gracing our show.
Yes, sir.
We have been talking to Adedeji Owonibi, who is the blockchain forensic investigator, and also Sewe Wycliffe, who is also a compliance specialist. And the topic was digital currency risks and regulations in Kenya. Don't go too far. Up next, I'll be talking to Ivan Yendo Ilunga, who is an assistant professor of political science and international relations. We'll be talking about peace and conflict resolution. Don't go too far. This is Good Morning Kenya.
You'll never have her again. Don't underestimate me.
What was that woman doing here? Let him into the garden so that your father wouldn't notice him. Well, it's all right. It's only natural that he wants to see Nora. No, but Rodrigo doesn't want to see your sister. He wants to see you. No.
Marcelo Escalante has a very complicated life. Why do you want to have more problems? Well, problems mean nothing to me. You'd better start to forget about that man. Do you understand?
You should have considered it before coming back here, would you say?
But whether you like it or not, this is also my house. Therefore, I'm staying right here.
Well, I'm terribly sorry for you. I demand you to tell me the kind of relationship that you have with Marcelo. Answer us.
The king in the land of
This February, precious moments with Channel One entail endless hours of warm sentiments.
I really love you.
Oh, Lord. Joy.
Did you get the job, Letty?
Romance.
Oh, babe.
Affection. Passion. Family.
Who are those flowers for? Oh, I'm sure they're for Lucia.
Fulfillment.
Oh, this is so sweet. That's that.
An array of programs specially selected for you to give you and your loved ones the cozy feeling of being at home.
Impressive.
Baby, let me tell you.
The treat is on us.
Are you serious?
Just give us a chance.
Make a date with KBC Channel 1 in the month of love for a heartwarming experience.
You will love it.
Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. This is Transformative Leaders on KBC Channel 1. My name is Mike Migwe, and today we are talking about peacekeeping and conflict resolution. And joining me for this conversation is none other than Dr. Ivan Yenda Ilunga, who is a professor of political science and international relations. Now, let's talk about the aspect of peacekeeping and conflict resolution. And Kenya has been involved in peacekeeping and conflict resolutions, especially in Africa. Do we have the right support as African countries in as far as this is concerned?
Well, thank you very much for having me here. And I think, yes, Kenya has been an instrumental player in advancing peacekeeping on the continent. But also, for the past couple of years, we've seen Kenya being very active at the regional level, especially when you think about cases such as the one in the DRC and other places. So yes, Kenya is an important actor, and I think it has also enjoyed the credibility as a country that is a strategic partner to many international organizations, and but also seen as an important actor in the region. So yes, Kenya is very instrumental in advancing peacekeeping and peace in general in the region, yes.
Yes. When you talk about conflict resolution and the implementation of the same, what is the effectiveness of these efforts, and is the implementation being embraced across Africa?
Well, I think the first element is to say, and you have to acknowledge that many African countries these days are in trouble, and that is a fact. And these troubles are not only at the political level, but we also see them at the community level, where you have multi-dimensional conflict. You have ethnic conflict, you have conflicts related to natural resources, conflict related to classes, ethnicities, and so on. So advancing peace in Africa requires a holistic view. So for some places, it is about political instabilities, but for other countries and other regions and other communities, it's, for instance, about community stability. So do we have the right arsenal to address this conflict with? Yes, I think we do, but that requires a well-deliberated engagement by countries, by one assessing the type of conflict that we see. So to your question, when you see, for instance, the ongoing engagements that many countries have these days, including Kenya, to address conflict in different parts of Africa, I think the approach that we are seeing, it's more, I would say, a top-down approach, where the idea is, if we fix the politics, if we fix the leadership, and if we harmonize misunderstanding between leaders, at least leading parties, then we will be able to have peace. But which, for me, I think is not always the fact. Because, yes, we have had in many countries, including, for instance, South Sudan and other places, where we have seen a political agreement being signed and implemented a little bit, but still conflict is occurring because communities are not satisfied. So to the point of effectiveness will require that we assess well the conflict. If we assess it well, we will know what type of resources to put in. And that also will create an environment where conflict resolution through, for instance, dialogue will be advanced properly.
Now, Kenya has also been involved in peacekeeping efforts. We have seen military interventions in some parts of Africa, and also we have our former president Uhuru Kenyatta, who is also involved in conflict resolutions, especially in DRC. How would you rate Kenya's efforts so far as peacekeeping and conflict resolution is concerned?
Well, I'll say thank you. I think so far Kenya's involvement is positive. It's positive for a couple of reasons. One, when you see the framework of UN peacekeeping operations, especially in the past 20 years, we've seen many troop contributing countries coming from outside the continent. So we have countries such as Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan that have been providing troops in many peacekeeping missions in Africa. But that has shifted a little bit, and these days we have a tendency of seeing more African troops being deployed on African continent. That requires leadership, good training, and availability. And I think Kenya has demonstrated that the Kenya Defense Forces that are being deployed are available, they are under, I think, good leadership, and they are also performing well. So yes, Kenya has been instrumental in that. How do I rate it? I think a matter of peace rating depend on one hand you have a mandate that the missions have, and on the other hand you have the local perception on what community expect. So on the mandate, under for instance, the East African Community Forces that was deployed to the DRC, if you think about the framework of the mandate and the resources that were put in, from the Kenya's perspective, one could say that was a positive mission, right? But when you see the broader aspect of stability which was needed and the local expectations in the DRC of seeing, for instance, violence being handed and also peace being restored, that rate may be a negative rate. To be like, well, it's probably 4 out of 10. At least the 4 is because we saw the troops on the ground and we saw the willingness to address, but peace is not restored. But when you go back to the institutional rating, I think Kenya has been doing okay, and that for me is more encouraging to see a country in Africa willing and ready to assist and support other countries in Africa, and even taking the bold step of trying to help other countries outside the continent. That tells at least an idea of leadership, an idea of willingness to advance peace, and that should be the first element to positively assess a mission or the willingness of a country. Is Kenya ready to navigate all these different terrain and fields? Because conflict changes all the time. That's another question that we may need to think about. And if the country is not fully ready, then what should we see being invested in the level of readiness of Kenya? But apart from that, I'm in academia, so I may say I will give at least an 8 or 8 out of 10 to the point that you see a readiness and deployment and the political statements that shows an idea of advancing peace on the continent.
Having said that, is there something that Kenya can channel into these efforts as a country? We are talking in terms of resources, human resource. Is there something extra that Kenya needs to do to be more proactive in as far as conflict and peace resolutions are concerned?
Yes, when we talk about that today, we see it as issues, or we see that as issues that affect other countries. Yeah. But of course, instability in country A, in East Africa, is also instability in Kenya indirectly, because it affects the business, it affects the stability, it affects the entire life system. So yes, Kenya should be proactive in advancing stability and peace. What can Kenya do? And here, when I say Kenya, I personally don't only mean the institutions. I also mean Kenyans. I enjoy myself here because I can say Jambo. In other words, I feel at home. So that means everything that's happening outside Kenya affects Kenyans as well as brothers and sisters. So, and the intervention of Kenya outside of Kenya is not just an intervention in a foreign country. It's an intervention in our home lands. In other words, intervention where Kenya go and Kenyans go help their brothers and sisters somewhere else. So what can Kenya do? I think one is to, when you think about leadership, because we're talking about also transformational leadership, a leader can only be a leader if they know, first of all, their position. And Kenya and Kenyans need to understand that at this point in East African community, and even in Africa, Kenya has a leading position. And that has to be taken seriously. And if you know your position, then you need to decide on what type of resources to put in order to fulfill your leadership role. And is that economic leadership? Is that political leadership? Is that military leadership? On the economic side, on the finances, there are many. For instance, there is one Kenyan bank that I don't want to mention, but that is very much expanding on the continent, right? And that it's a proof of saying Kenya is taking a step in engaging with the rest of the continent financially, economically, and so on. And that is a level of awareness that I think Kenya should have. Not just say, well, we are expanding because we are enjoying ourselves, but also expanding because we have the responsibility to engage with the rest of the continent and enable other countries to pick up their development, to pick up their stability. And if the DRC, for instance, is stable, well, the DRC, specifically the eastern part of the DRC, is stable, then that will be an easy opportunity for Kenya and Congolese to engage in trade, to engage in other type of developments, including technological development and other opportunities. So there is a stake for Kenya in peace in Africa.
Now, Kenya and also in Africa, we have countries that are multi-ethnic. And this is where multi-ethnicity sometimes is one of the reasons that can lead to conflicts, because one party may feel like they are being shortchanged in terms of resources, governance, and things like that. So how do you approach conflict resolution in such a situation?
I think we have the blessing in Africa of being diverse. And some people consider it as a curse and trouble. But for me, I consider it as a blessing because there is richness in diversity. The Berlin Conference divided the continent in small pieces. And unfortunately, that subdivisions of the continent did not always take into consideration ethnic differences and ethnicities and ethnic lines. Post 1884, 1885, we found ourselves in a continent, in countries where we are forced to live together. And here I'm using my word carefully. We are forced to live together, not deliberately decided to be in one place. And 1960s, we gained our independences, and that led to an idea of trying to build nations. And we are so proud of our borders. We are so proud of our countries. And that itself tells us that we are destined to live together as diversities, ethnic tribes and so on. Is it easy? Not at all. It's not easy. I always say, you may be, just think about family situations where you have siblings who behave some way, but that doesn't mean they are not your siblings. That doesn't mean you should kick them out. So you have to live together. And when you think about conflict resolution, I always want people to bring it down to the family settings first. Because when we think about country, we think about numbers of people. We think about the numbers of tribes, and just like, it's too much. But bring it down first to just the family setting. Either it's 11 people, 4 people, 5 people. We all have differences, but we try to work out those differences. And it is a great opportunity for Africa outside any other part of the world. When I do my studies and research in conflict resolutions and peace, I see it as a tool that Africa has in order to strengthen a new vision of the world. We have managed to live together. And of course, the conflict is there. There is issues of representation which need to be addressed because there are certain grievances which are valid. You have probably a small group or a majority that's taking over power for a long time, and then of course the other feel alienated and so on. Those are issues, and those are reality in some spaces. And we have to acknowledge that some people have been deprived from the benefit of enjoying their presence in certain countries. But how can we create an environment where everyone feels welcome and seen and represented? This is the step in conflict resolution based on diversity that I think Africa and African spaces and African countries should look at. If I may push a little bit on that, we always say, what can Africa offer to the world? This is one of the gift of diversity. We have managed to live together despite our differences. Today we are talking about the globalization, where people go in different places. You have now Western countries not knowing how to deal with migrants, people from different backgrounds in the same place. They're just like, well, it's too much. We don't have the right legal setting and setup for all these people because they come with different culture, different values. But Africa has already had that experience many years ago before even we declare globalization. Yeah. So we have the opportunity, at least at this time, to teach also the world how to live together because we have managed over the centuries to do that. And of course, we went through conflict, but we resolved them.
Now, approaching the aspect of peace and conflict resolution cannot be done from a Lone Ranger perspective. We've seen efforts of former President Uhuru in DRC, but he also leads a team of other people from various countries in Africa, and also the aspect of peacekeeping troops in the DRC. It's a multinational force. Mm-hmm. So I'd love for you to talk about the synergy between governments, policy makers, private sector, the civil society. What is their role and what is the importance of that synergy in as far as conflict resolution and peace is concerned?
Yeah, great question. I think it is a mistake to think that peace can only be restored through military capabilities. Because most of the reasons of instabilities are not military reasons. They are economic reasons, they are social reasons, they are political, they are cultural. So if we think about those reasons from that angle, and it's because they were not well addressed, that instability occurred, violence erupted, and we need peacekeepers, we need the military to intervene to stabilize. But the trend that we are seeing today is a multi-dimensional approach to peacekeeping and peace building. The former president is engaged into diplomatic space where he engages with different actors in the regions and talk through, bring some to their sense, and so on. That is one aspect. The other aspect, which is a fact that the threat that we see today, you have terrorist organizations, armed groups that are not willing to obey any law. Those ones need to be neutralized. And that's where we have the military capabilities of peacekeepers being expected to engage. But beyond that, natural resources-based conflict will only be addressed when there is a clear framework of redistribution of resources. Issues of poverty are being addressed. And so, yes, those are angles. And this requires involvement of different stakeholders. I'll start probably quickly with civil societies. Think about religious leaders. How vocal are they? And how credible are they in many communities? People believe in religious leaders sometimes more than politicians. Yeah. So we need to bring them into these conversations. I always say this idea of saying we have to separate, religion from politics. For me, I think it's a wrong idea, because religion is already politics, and politics already part of the religious spaces. So religious leaders need to be engaged. It's interesting when you see official events, especially all these big official events in many African countries. One of the steps that we see happening, you have the open prayers, right? You have religious leaders from different organizations coming and doing the opening prayers. And then you move into the official steps. So that tells us the place that our society has for religious organizations and the religious leaders. And this is where, for me, I think engaging religious leaders, and I'm writing a book on that, the role of religious leaders in peacekeeping. So how do we tap into their credibility, their trust, and their access in the communities to advance conversations that cannot be advanced by politicians, cannot be advanced by the military. So, and I guess the last part of your question was, for instance, mentioning the private sector. Investment is key for any community. So we cannot, unfortunately, there is this idea of saying we cannot invest in a fragile space because money does not like the sound of guns. But I think for me, the idea of investing in a private sector as part of the peace building process is important.
Yes. Now, what is the place of research in all this?
Well, I would say research is important on academic level as well as a policy level. For us to have a good policy decision, it has to be a well-informed decision. And this is where research comes in. Research allows policymakers to reflect on issues, not from superficial things, but with data, saying, well, we can't just say 50 people have been killed. But research allows us to go beyond the numbers, to see what are the dynamics of those, for instance, massacres or those type of things. So research allows very much to inform policies. And as you can tell, many institutions, either government or non-government, these days have a research component because it's allowing a well-informed decision-making process.
Talk about the stabilization of operations in terms of peacekeeping conference that is coming up soon.
Yeah, great. No, thank you. So there is a peacekeeping stabilization conference that is happening in Nairobi, and it brings together different stakeholders, businesses, policymakers, government officials, civil societies, and academicians around the table to assess the situation on the continent and then see where is Africa in terms of peacekeeping and what type of supports can we put into it in order to advance peace. So we've had, for instance, Kenyan officials and other officials attending and presenting their views on how that synergy we're mentioning earlier can be happening to facilitate the right resources, mobilize the finances, the logistics, and also mobilize key players, key leaders to engage in peace building across the continent.
What, in your own assessment, What do you hope to be the outcome of all this of this conference?
Well, my first interest and hope is that this will not be the first, right? It should be an opportunity for many more. And the most important thing is to have different stakeholders taking their leadership positions and engage into this area of peacekeeping. Because over the years, we've had only the military and a little bit of politics involved and not the business side. Because some businesses feel like peacekeeping is not part of what they're doing. But the reality is there is room for everyone if we want to advance peace and stability. So my hope is to see a better engagement of civil societies, private sectors, academicians, policymakers coming together around the table and have one voice. I would say there is hope for Africa. And this is one of the greatest opportunities for the continent to show its abilities for change. No one will do it better than Africans. And it's not about bragging, it's about being aware that Africa has a lot to offer. It's time for us to switch the mind from the receiving continent to the giving continent and identify what we have to give and boldly give to the world what the world has been waiting for so many years.
We have been talking to Dr. Ivan Yenda Ilunga, who is an assistant professor of political science and international relations. This has been Transformative Leaders here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Migwe. Keep it KBC Channel 1.
naonelea next week unipatie hapo nikalime kidogo.
Chukua hiyo kitabu tafadhali, utoke uende pole pole.
Tumekaa tukaona sisi hatutaki mchezo. Mambo ya kufanya kazi mchana ilipitwa na wakati. Chana naye unafanya nini?
Hii mama kaya hii vitu gani hiyo wanafanyia watu?
Mimi ni the new general chief, general organizer, assistant manager.
We. Kwa nini unachukua simu yangu naweka kwa moto matope bwana?
Nisipochunga akili yangu sasa nani ataweza kumanage? Akili yangu itayeyukwa na ninajua.
You'll never have her again. Don't underestimate me.
What was that woman doing here? Let him into the garden so that your father wouldn't notice him. Well, it's all right. It's only natural that he wants to see Nora. No, but Rodrigo doesn't want to see your sister. He wants to see you. No.
Marcelo Escalante has a very complicated life. Why do you want to have more problems? Well, problems mean nothing to me. You'd better start to forget about that man. Do you understand?
You should have considered it before coming back here, would you say?
But whether you like it or not, this is also my house. Therefore, I'm staying right here.
Well, I'm terribly sorry for you. I demand you to tell me the kind of relationship that you have with Marcelo. Answer us.
This week's show is inspired